Yo, it's Monday. Welcome to Spurs Kings TV, and it's time for Ashmatic's analysis. Everybody well?
Yeah.
All good, man. How are you guys?
Yeah, good. Just now clicking every maybe 3 hours. Spurs transfer news, getting impatient now.
What is going on?
It's like who's going, who's leaving. Romero's now linked to Arsenal, linked to Chelsea. You know, what's happening there? Spurs are now linked to Barcelona, Koundé. A lot of linkage going on.
After John Stones being confirmed going to Inter, we looks like we're keeping Romero. Yeah, John. Is it literally in the last 10 minutes?
Okay.
They said it's separate. It's not going to affect the Romero deal, apparently. So,
well, they said they can't afford him, so and they've gone for a free transfer.
Oh, well, I'm just saying that. Well, they're saying that's basically it's a separate thing.
But do we have to get Bastoni off them?
I'm not out that he doesn't go to Milan. I'm just saying that's what they've come out and said, isn't it?
They're trying to get him on the cheap, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They want to loan us up first, and
well, if they're going to take a loan, then we can charge them through the roof for the obligation to buy.
Yeah, that's the point. That's what it is basically. That's the loan, and they will pay a higher fee in it. But Spurs, I think, might want the money now. But we'll see in it. We'll see what I want.
I can't believe it's been a week. We ain't had a signing. Like, what's going on?
I know everyone's losing their mind, bro. It's like
I told you.
I'm so used to the Levy thing. You get me? Having players lastminute.com. Like one day before the pre-season's finished. So, bro, I don't know. I'm still cool, but I do hear it though.
Like I said this before, like how no matter what, how Spurs make fast transfers, fans will still be. We want more. You know, because apparently Spurs need a top quality striker, a top quality right back, left back. No, sorry, top quality left back. Top quality left winger, another right winger, another striker, and then all of a sudden fans are getting pissed off because Spurs are selling Lancashire and the youth team. So the wee fans don't know what to do at the
moment. We had it too good in during the World Cup, I think. Now the World Cup's finished, they're like, "Well, we ain't doing no business. We're done."
Yeah, the thing is, what a lot of fans have to realize, we did that in the World Cup because like teams weren't fishing. Every team now, this is when it gets serious. The proper transfer window starts now, like 44 days. If you think about it, like Spurs are still the biggest spenders in the transfer window, aren't they?
Yep.
Apart from
we are.
Yeah. So
we will be.
Now it's delaying because I think Savio, I think Man City are waiting. So that's it. Like I'm checking transfers, not even for Spurs, to see who's going from Man City, who's Man City linked with. If they get
effect now, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what it's all about now. It's Spurs. I think our attackers are going to be the most the difficult bit for Spurs to get because they're high tier. And now I think Robert, like he has to look at the attackers he has, like Mikey Moore and all that, even Tell in pre-season friendly. So yeah.
All right then, let's bring out our guests. Our first one before the other one arrives later. Danish, you well?
Evening all. Evening Marlon, Orin and Ash. How you guys doing? Big up chat. Hope everyone's well. Thank you for the invite, guys. Appreciate it.
We got Dan.
Yeah, we're good.
Good to see you.
So how are you feeling, Dan? Come on. We everyone's heard our feelings for weeks, and it's just like, how are you feeling about everything? You know, the transfers during the World Cup, and then all of a sudden, it's now stopped.
Yeah, look, there's a lot to say, isn't there? There's a lot to say. I'll try and summarise it quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I think probably I'm a scarred Spurs optimist. I think that's quite a good way to put it, right? Because I can see Enoch. They are spending some serious money. Yeah, it's very encouraging what we're seeing in this window. But 25 years of disappointment doesn't disappear overnight, guys, does it? Because of one good transfer window. I want to believe things are going to be changing. Generally changing, I mean, but I'm always going to have that skepticism, right? And I'm sure you guys on the panel too, as well, and people in the chat about the club's real intentions. And for me, you know, trust has got to be earned over a period of time.
So do you think like Raw is a reactionary window? Is that what you're saying? Like that's why you're a bit more skeptical and you want to see what happens
Well,
when there isn't so much at stake, or was at stake. Sorry.
well, I've got a lot to say. I don't want to take up you guys' time, but I
No,
can.
please do.
Still,
Well, we've been speaking for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah,
You go
everyone knows
ahead.
our opinion now. We're
Yeah,
starting to
we
bring on our
need
guests.
we need fresh opinions. Please do. Take over the show for a little bit.
We don't want to talk anymore.
I'm not leaving. I'm just going to go get something.
Well,
That's how we much want you to talk.
it shouldn't take too long. It shouldn't take too long, but there's a lot to say, right? Isn't there? There's a lot to say. Like, we've supported the club for a long time, and look, you do have to give credit to ENIC where credit's due, right? They've built the world-class stadium and fantastic training facilities, and the commercial side of the club has grown and it's created new revenue streams, and it has put Tottenham in a position where we are today, right? By spending some serious money. I'm not denying any of that, but for me, football is about one important thing, right? Isn't it? Winning, right? ENIC have owned Spurs around 25, 26 years now. So when people want to talk about, I would say, it's all good. They've built this, and it's absolutely fair. Right? I get it, but you really have to judge the club over what has actually happened on the pitch at the same time, right? If you get what I'm saying, does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
You can't take you can't take all the credit for where Tottenham are financially, and then suddenly separate yourself from everything else what's happened on the pitch. Spurs over the years have come close on so many occasions, and we've had some fans. We've had some really good teams over the years under ENIC and Levy. We've had some great players, and we've challenged at the top, reached finals, been in the Champions League, reached a Champions League final. And those times, they were fantastic times. And if you think back, particularly under the Poch years, we're only like 2 or 3 players from really pushing ourselves to the next level and getting these titles over the line, cup competitions over the line. And for me, and I'm sure you guys must feel similar, that's where the real frustration comes from, right? Isn't it? We've had to go through all this for such a long time. But look, we can give ENIC and Levy credit for helping to put Spurs in those positions. But when we got there, we didn't really go for it, did we? And it's too often, and then this is the kind of the question marks for me, since ENIC, Levy have been in charge. There's been transfer windows where we've just needed 2 or 3 quality players and we just didn't get them. There was opportunities to strengthen from, I would say, a position of strength. Instead, we just seemed to wait. We had a fantastic team under Pochettino competing with some of the best in the country, right? Reached Champions League final, had some unbelievable memories. And, we all loved that period. But probably Poch was my favourite time of supporting the club since being a fan. Redknapp was great too. I enjoyed Joel. But Poch was the real time where I felt we were an actual serious club. But and then some people say, well, because I've been saying recently that, I've been embarrassed to be a Spurs fan. And then someone would say to me, well, it wasn't an embarrassment under Poch. They're missing the point, really, because of course we weren't. We were bloody good under Poch, right? But we still didn't win anything. And that doesn't kind of erase how good a Spurs team was. It doesn't take that away. It doesn't mean Poch was a failure. There was, as I said, some of my favourite memories supporting the club. But ultimately, we got close and we didn't get over the line. And when you've been supporting the club for I'm in my 40s now, 35 years, I guess. All those nearly moments start adding up. Football, guys, is tribal, right? Football is rivalry. And, I've had decades of Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans, everybody giving us shit over the years. And I've lived through so many false dawns. I know everyone has the collapses, the embarrassments, the results, the cup exits, the terrible decisions, the rebuilds, the promises that this time things are going to be different. And that feeling, when Spurs get so close, and then something would go wrong. So yes, I would say, what's that word I used at the beginning? Scarred, right? And then you add up the recent season and what's been going on. And my patience with the ownership is, it's not the same as it was, I say, 15, 20 years ago. So that's why one big transfer window, guys, for me, isn't going to make me forget the previous, 25 years. I'm really encouraged by what ENIC have done now. And if this is really a change, brilliant, right? And if they're finally going to use their financial power to properly back the football side, take some risks, and build a team capable of winning the biggest trophies, then I'll take praise. I'll be the first to give them praise. That's what I want. I don't want ENIC to fail just to say prove me right, or just to say I told you so or whatever. I want Tottenham to win, but football requires risk, right? And I think Spurs have been the opposite to risk, especially under Daniel Levy.
Oh,
So
Levy never liked to take risks. He was burnt twice, I think, when he did take a risk. So he kind of became that risk avert kind of guy, and he always kind of felt like that's what held it back a little bit.
Oh, yeah, tell me about it, man. It's crazy. So I just lost my train of thought then.
Sorry.
So no, it's all right, man. It's all right. So when you have a great team, right, and you're close, and sometimes you have to say, well, this is our moment, right? Spend the money and go for it. And for the most of the ENIC era, I don't think Spurs have done that. And Levy isn't running the club no more. He's gone. So this isn't about having a kind of personal obsession with Daniel Levy, even though I can't stand him. It's about judging the ownership that has been here for over a quarter of a century. So when somebody tells me to forget about the past and just give ENIC credit because they're spending money now, sorry, it doesn't work like that. I'll give them credit for what they're doing now, but trust gets built over time. If this spending leads to proper football strategy, right, guys, say maybe some sustained ambition and ultimately trophies, then fantastic. Maybe we are entering a different Tottenham era, but prove it, keep doing it. And after 26 years, I think Spurs fans have earned the right to be sceptical, right? And maybe, just maybe, some people need to stop getting more upset when Daniel Levy or ENIC are criticised than when Tottenham keep falling short. Why did they keep falling short? Look, I support Tottenham Hotspur. I don't support ENIC. I don't support Daniel Levy. They're responsible for running my football club. But when they got things right, I'll praise them. When they got things wrong, I'll criticise them. But if ENIC now finally turn everything they've built off the pitch into sustained success, I'll happily give them credit. But I'm not rewriting the 26 years of history just because one ambitious transfer window. Football is about winning. And now finally I want to see them act like that, right? So I can then believe. I think that's about it. I think that's enough. Guys, taking up your time there. Fair enough.
Hey, big up Daniel. Let's make sure you're liking, subscribing to his channel as well, man. Big him up every time. Well, make sure you do like this one as well. We do need the traction. We are a humble channel, so we don't like asking for help, but every little helps, man. Tesco's, isn't it? Go on, Marlon, man. Take the show away, man. Go on, bro. Big up to the chat as well, man. Interactive. We'll get your questions.
I like that one.
All right, guys. Look, we've had 2 friendlies, okay, so far. Have we learned anything so far from these friendlies? Now, we obviously played MK Dons on, I can't remember what day it is now. What day are we on? Whatever day last week we played them, and then we obviously played was it Auckland yesterday, and most of the reserves of second team played yesterday, and Dane Scarlett and Richarlison did score, by the way, just FYI. But have we, as Spurs fans, have we seen anything with the way De Zerbi is now looking to set up, even though we haven't seen like our full first 11 out in any of these 2 games? And is there anything you're concerned about? Is there anything you can see that's now different regarding what De Zerbi's trying to do with his boys on the training pitch? Go on, Ash, because this is your bread and butter.
To be fair, look, how much can you really learn from a team called Auckland?
Oh, yeah, they won the was it the best team in Malaysia, man. I know they didn't show it.
I'm looking at the out of possession play, and the Premier League is known for it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how well
they were rusty as well, weren't they?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. This looks like training. I'll be real. This looks like glorified training. Everyone's just trying to stretch their big toe. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to get their fitness up, expand their lungs, whatnot. You're seeing some of the youngsters. I haven't even seen anything close to what I think would be the actual starting 11 for the opening season. And rightly so, because I remember last season under Frank. This time last year, I think we played Arsenal. Do you remember? It's Arsenal versus Tottenham in the Australian tour. And that game was no pre-season, bro. That wasn't no friendly. That was the real thing. You know what I'm saying? We were going back and forth. And we ended up winning 1-0. Remember, Sar scored the halfway line. Yeah. And then fans were getting gas like, oh, you know what? This could be Spurs.
It felt different.
Different, yeah. Actual coaching going on. Like, all of that type of stuff. Bro, you know, we never had a coach before. So I am not getting carried away by nada. You know what I'm saying? I'm just
Why
looking
not,
at
Ash, man? Why you not
no,
feeling
no.
it?
No. You have to feel it. But listen, look, like, obviously the debate really is about the youngsters. It's not really about what De Zerbi is implementing. To be fair, like, let me backtrack because De Zerbi is quite meticulous. I saw him like doing the stand here, don't move, rare, open your body up, like he's proper micromanaging them. And I'm starting to think, what players do actually like? Who would that help, and who would that piss off? And obviously, Bergval's being linked away, and he did make a point of saying, "I only want players that love Spurs, that want to be here, that want to fight for the club, tear." And then when he first come, obviously Bergval was in this picture and he was talking his arm around him, blah blah blah. And then since then, like, I ain't really seen it. I ain't really seen the love. So going back to my point is, I think Archie Gray, he doesn't mind all that kind of micromanagement, trying to develop him, open the body, open the hips, release the ball quicker. I think Bergval is more of a free spirit, shall I say, or a maverick type where he likes to feel the game. He likes to take many touches of the ball. He wants to kind of like not dictate the game, but he wants to play attacking football where there's no strings attached, in my opinion. And I think him carrying the ball, taking 3 or 4 touches, De Zerbi wants bounce pass, 1-2, wall pass. Like Oren always says, pass and move. You know what I mean? Follow the ball, like push and run that all Spurs fans say, you know, that's the Tottenham way. And I just think Bergval, some people might love him and say like he's going to be generational, this, that, the other. We were here last season. And I know he had a lot of injuries, but he might not be right for the De Zerbi system, in my opinion. And that's why we're seeing links with him moved like Sunderland, 55 mil or 66 mil. I'm seeing obviously Brighton now they're trying to put their P's on top. And then obviously Forest are the main ones that they're trying to go for him. But anyway, I kind of went sideways. Going back to the actual formation and how we were setting up, and there was a lot of youngsters. I felt that before, and this is going around X at the moment, big up Nathan on Extra Inch. He's the one that's pushing this as well. That last season, we just saw a big donut in the middle. We just saw a big ring where there was no one in the middle. There was no midfielders. There was no attackers. And it was like a ring of fire. The fullbacks, the midfield, they evaded that space. Now, this time in the preseason of the last two games, we've seen a single pivot. In the first game, we saw a double pivot with Tonali and Fernandez. We've seen Donnelly drop into the number 6 role at times. And the midfield, to me, looks a lot more fluid, and we've got a lot more options centrally compared to last time. And we're building up sometimes with the fullbacks out wide, as you would have overlapping fullbacks, and sometimes the fullbacks are joining the midfielders. So it's like a 2-3 or a 2-4. And it all depends. It's all situational. That, obviously, we saw the Auckland, they had their first chance because one of the defenders, they made a mistake. They passed it. It didn't get to the man. And then they capitalized it and they had the first shot on goal, Auckland did. But you're going to have these kind of teething, I call it teething issues when you're trying to start a new system and you're still giving a degree of freedom to the players. Do you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, mistake. The question I really want to throw out, and I know Marlon's got questions on top of what I'm saying, is the question I really want to throw out is because everyone's talking about not Archie Gray, but everyone's talking about Mikey Moore.
Fuck Archie Gray. No, I'm joking.
Everyone's talking about everyone's talking about Mikey Moore, but I'm like, is it Tell versus Mikey Moore at the moment, or is it Mikey Moore versus Luca Williams-Barnett? Because they're both playing the left, and they kind of both drift in that kind of 10 role. And if one has to go, is it going to be Mikey Moore that has to be like, I don't know, long term? I'm not sure if they could both. Are they fighting for the same position? I'm just asking questions here. I don't know.
Well, look, guys, these youth players, that was just like it was an opportunity for De Zerbi to have a real good look at these young players, right? Have a real good look at them. And, you know, that was obvious, right? There's been so much talk in the fan base about the youth system and that, what can I call it? There's a lot of debate around it, you know, what's happened, why certain players never make the first team. And it's just so funny that you know, that game, we just saw all the youth players play, right? It's mad, isn't it? Like with all the discussion about. So he's obviously taken a good look at these young players and kind of thinking, you know, which ones could I involve in the first team next season? Now there's the fan favourites, right? Williams Barnett, I would say Mikey Moore. People say Mikey Moore doesn't look quite ready. They say that they've watched him play in Scotland and he wasn't fantastic. And maybe Mikey Moore needs another loan, I think. But I think someone like Williams Barnett, I mean, De Zerbi will decide at the end of the day. He's going to probably watch him closely over this pre-season. And I think if he feels that he can contribute next season, yeah, by all means, getting involved. Don't loan him out. Because there's got to be, a couple involved in that youth team, isn't it? In the first team, I think. So it's interesting, isn't it? And he really has laid down the marker, De Zerbi. And he's basically said, if you're good enough, you'll play, right? You'll get involved. You know, we've all heard that in his press conference. So he's open to giving these young players a chance. So it's up to them now to try and impress him in training and in these friendlies. So it's interesting to see.
Oren, before I bring Ricky in, so he can catch up on what we're talking about.
Hey up, Ricky.
Hello, guys.
Yeah, like I only saw the highlights and I didn't read too much into it because it's friendlies. It's we did play the youngsters and till it came on, Mikey Moore was there, Williams Barnett was there, and it was good to see that the youngsters got a full game. Like you didn't bring like the first team on. For not like the midfield looks better, but that's to be expected because I think Fernandez and Tonali was bought to just that midfield. And I think you'll find like the next friendlies when he starts molding his team. I think the last two friendlies will be the full team. And yeah, because there's still additions to be, obviously De Zerbi wants additions to the team as well. So yeah, like friendlies, nah. The one thing, because I've been watching the training videos and them going to Auckland. Every step Maddison makes, I'm like, just why is he even walking? He should be getting carried by players. His foot should even touch the floor in case he pulls something or he he gets into the pool. And I'm like, is anybody watching him? Because you don't want his ACL to go. So I think that's the thing that De Zerbi is going to look at as well. It's like, Frank played the full team and got them all going and got them all, and it kind of maybe backfired. So maybe De Zerbi is going to go, right, we're going to ease Maddison into it and make sure that he's absolutely perfectly right. Kuleveski as well. I'm expecting to see him play like a minute or so. Is he still at Spurs? Kuleveski?
I don't know. I haven't played a video. Anyone on TikTok or go onto our video, man, because it's there, and YouTube Shorts.
He's there. There's Kuleveski if he's back. Is he back? And then Kudus is meant to be joining the team as well. So yeah, Spurs got a lot of attacking players. Wide attacking players is just about who they're going to sell.
Ricky, so the question was, I know you got your Love Island to catch up on, but what have you learned from pre-season so far? Have we learned anything? Is it more about De Zerbi and tactics more than anything player-wise?
Well, firstly, boys, thank you for having me. I'm not doing this myth about me being late any real justice, am I? I can't even turn up for my wonderful guest of Ashmatic Marlon to not even get on time, boys. I'm so sorry. The kids were an absolute nightmare tonight. They were. What have we learned? Have we learned much? I think, at the moment, boys, it's been such a mixed bag in terms of the lineup. It's really difficult to sit here and really give any real kind of judgment so far. I think, the first time in 50 years that Tottenham went to Auckland, and I know there probably would have been a bit of disappointment that those fellow fans would have turned up and seen a lot of the youth players to begin with, although Lubo's adopted son Archie Gray, I thought did very, very well generally. And I think, there's a lot of speculation right now in general about a lot of the players that were on show yesterday. So I think at the moment, look, it's really about getting minutes into legs, isn't it? I think it's difficult to really sit here and give a real kind of cast iron judgment about the players that we are seeing, because I would imagine a lot of the players that started the game yesterday will be in the shop window, either on loan or possibly for sale. I think De Zerbi's made his points very clear, hasn't he? The players that don't want to be at the football club leave us. So I think at the moment, guys, we'll get a bit more of a test, hopefully, against Chelsea on Saturday. I think that's where we're going to really see a judgment. And I know, look, Ash and Marlon, him really well, Jason. I think Jason's concern was actually when you look at the games we've got in pre-season, is there a bit of a worry by the teams that we are playing? Have we really got a real good number of tests before we do face Brentford on the opening day? Because I think if you look in general in terms of who we're facing, bar Chelsea, Hoffenheim are an okay outfit, I think, in terms of a European side, but we're not playing anyone of any real great stature to give us a real measurement against when you look at the start of the season. But I think I said to you, Miles, on the phone earlier today, Tottenham actually got a real good opportunity in this kind of first set of fixtures to really lay a marker down, because the likes of Arsenal's players, Man City's players, Liverpool's, Chelsea's, Man City's, a lot of these are going to be at the World Cup. So if Tottenham can start quite fast, then we've got a real good opportunity of having a really good start to the season. That's not me sitting here saying we're going to win the league. That's not me sitting here saying we're going to, be top of the table by Christmas. But there is an opportunity, if we do hit the ground running, that we can have a really, really good season. I know maybe the argument will be, we'll look at our pre-season games last year this time around, or under Thomas Frank. There was a good opportunity there to really start fast. But I'm quite excited, guys, which is hard to be as a Tottenham fan. I caught what Dan said, actually, before I came into the show. I think this is the first time in like a long, long time that there's a genuine excitement about what this season does bring. But I know we'll probably come on to it. I think a lot does hinge on the forward line and what Tottenham do between now and the end of the window, because they've made their statements clear in terms of the defence, the midfield. I do like Kinski, but I have still got my concerns over the goalkeeper situation. It won't be James Trafford, as we know he's off the table. But I think if we start Brentford on the first day and it's for Charlison and Solanke, I think we'll be a slight tinge disappointed given just who we've been linked to so far in the window.
Ash. So that brings us onto the front three. Obviously, that's everyone's concern at the moment. Do you see us? Well, De Zerbi's come out and said already that we are looking for 3 people up top. He wants to look for a striker, but do you actually genuinely see us getting anybody out there when you've got people like Danny Welbeck going to Chelsea? It just shows you what the striker market's like at the moment.
Wait, Welbeck's gone to Chelsea?
Yeah, bro.
Pretty much.
You're not heard.
All right, where you been all day?
Obviously not checking the right information.
Yeah, you're your mouse is stuck, bro. Yeah.
But the reason why I bring up Welbeck, in that situation, I know he's not gone to Chelsea yet, but that is where, especially someone in like Chelsea who splash around the cash, and they've gone, Danny Welbeck is the guy they're thinking is the guy to come in.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because obviously you've got Danny Welbeck, and a lot of fans, I'm saying, who would you rather have? Danny Welbeck, who's 35, or would you have a Krupi who's done it for one season? Do you know what I mean? The point is, I think Chelsea are different to us. They need experience because they got a bunch of kids in it. Do you know what I mean?
Henderson's rumored to be going there as well, isn't he? So yeah, you can see what market they're going down at the moment.
Yeah, they're going down the mentor route, isn't it? So
I've also heard don't rule out Ryan Giggs being a prime target between now and the window as well.
Yeah, for the old players.
I was hoping they'd take Romero, but he's a bit young, isn't he?
I'm hoping they're going to take Jason by the deadline this right?
Yeah, that's how bad Chelsea's gone from spending big to like, we're going to give you a 5-year contract. Made him 35. We're going to play till 40. That's how you roll.
The market is really, for me, the striker market, it's not really that great. I think a lot of people prefer like a Marmouche, if I'm being totally honest. But the problem with Marmouche is his wages, God, Lord of mercy, 300 plus K. Like,
wages are nothing no more. Leave me gone.
I don't know if this is the new 2.0. I need to see it, bro. I need to see it. So that's the stumbling block for me for Marmouche. Otherwise, I think he'll be the guy we should go for, or he would be the guy that most fans would be happy with because the striker market is dire. But Krupi's going to be priced out. PSG are looking at him as well. Barcelona are saying if they can't get Alvarez, they're looking at a Krupi. And then Bournemouth, on top of it, they're saying they don't want to sell. But you know what it is, bro. Everyone's got a price. And now people are trying to say 110. I'm like, bro, I don't know. 110, it's a bit crazy. You can't lie, 110. But look.
But the question is, I'll ask all of you is, like, if 100 million euros is the price tag,
110.
Is anyone gonna pay it? Because even PSG and Barcelona, are they gonna pay that?
Well, I think it depends on just how much you really are willing to gamble on the kid, right? I know it's been only on the back of one Premier League season, but I think if you see this kid's goals, I watched it on the Premier League highlights the other day. I mean, the finishing's unreal from this guy. And I know it's only been one season, and I know that we signed Solanke off the back of one season as well, right, at Bournemouth. So I think that's maybe where some fans have got their concern. But I think this kid, and forgive me for bringing his name up on a Tottenham podcast, but he has got a bit of tear on my back, hasn't he? I saw this. You look at the way the guy finishes. I mean, Ashley's probably the man to probably judge in terms of his finesse and his, nature of ability of finishing. But there's something very, very special about this kid. And I think the thing is, what I keep asking myself is that will Tottenham ever get this opportunity again? Will it come around again for Tottenham to be in a position where they might be able to sign him? PSG will get the opportunity again. With all due respect, a lot of the other clubs out there in terms of the higher echelons of Europe will get the opportunity. But will Tottenham, at the moment, we're on a high trajectory given what we've done so far this summer, given the fact that I think, the boys have said already, the wage bill has seemingly, the purse strings have been loosened. This is maybe one of the very few opportunities you're going to get this kid. And from what we're hearing around the Spurs social media scene is that Krupi will be open to talks and open to a move. So I think it's one of those opportunities where if you are brave, you would take it. I keep thinking with Bournemouth, I keep saying this, they're trying to build a new stadium. I just don't think Bournemouth could turn down a 90, 100 million bid if it comes in for an Alex Scott or a Krupi. I just don't see how they're going to be able to turn down that money. I know they've got a new manager. I know it's their first season in Europe, but I think seriously, when someone comes to the table with that kind of money, but I mean that with all due respect to them, you can't turn down that kind of money if you're Bournemouth. Tell me I'm wrong, guys.
No, I hear it. But hear me out, Ricky. Hear me out. So, he is the position. That's the position I think people are kind of skeptical because he's not a striker, is he? Really, he's not the centre forward. And you're spending that much amount of money on someone that's not the position that we desperately need is a bit of a risk. And I think a lot of people are arguing that at Bournemouth, the one time he did play striker, he wasn't really that prolific. He wasn't that, exciting. But he would be, again, another 10 that we're getting into the actual squad. So, how does this work? How do you justify
Ash, let me come in here, man. Look, if you're spending £100 million on a striker, you want to be guaranteed goals, assists, a bit of experience, proof and quality. I wouldn't be spending £100 million. There's strikers out there in the market. You can get maybe the same price, a bit less, and get someone who's more proven to come into that team and improve it. Don't get me wrong. The kid looks very talented, yeah? But that's crazy money we're talking, yeah? For a player who's had one good season, 13 goals. He's not the exact position that we need. And yeah, it's madness. I think Spurs could go out there and get someone a bit more experienced, if you're going to pay that kind of money. That's what I think. And the thing is with De Zerbi and this forward player situation, I would say, De Zerbi, he demands quite a lot from his forward. If you look at across the teams he's managed in the past and the sort of forward players he's had, he likes them to be quite quick, technical, brave on the ball, able to move around. He doesn't want to just sign a striker who's just going to wait there and stand waiting for chances. And the left winger playing needs is somebody who I would say is needs to be direct, beat players one-on-one, carry the ball, be able to score and assist. If you think of Matoma at Brighton, I know Matoma didn't have a great season last year, but previously he was pretty good, wasn't he? Pretty good player. And then the centre forward needs to do more than just score. He needs to link the play. He's not asking for much, as he does. He needs to press. He needs to move in different areas, bring others into their game. And if you look at a player like he had at Brighton, and he's gone to Chelsea now, Joel Pedro, he's a good example because he could play up front, off the striker and off the left. And so if Spurs are going for a forward player who can kind of cover that front three, that probably makes sense for De Zerbi, right? If it's a player like Krupi, because he can play a couple of positions, but I don't know, because, you need an attacker who's a little bit more flexible, somebody a bit like Joel Pedro, and that's what they've said as well. He's come out and said that, well, he hasn't said it, but I've heard it reported online that we're not definitely going for a number 9, an out-and-out number 9. It's a versatile attacker, and that's the key point here, and the left winger. Right. And I get that because it looks like we're going to start the season with Solanke. People in the fan base will say he's not good enough, but he's homegrown. You know, we need a number 9. If we really, really want to be serious, we should be going out and getting a proper number 9. But they're talking about this versatile attacker who can play across multiple positions in the front. And if you look at his previous team, Brighton, Marseille, Shakhtar, you're kind of clue of what type of forward players he likes to have. As I said already, he's Matoma, Pedro, Greenwood he's had previously as well. Adringa, I remember him. So for me, Spurs need also when it comes to their left winger, they need a winger with pace and end product, and a forward who can play centrally but isn't one. And you know, but most importantly, whoever Spurs bring in, they've got to bring goals, because I'm telling you what, guys, it's fantastic spending all this money in the midfield and defence, but if we do not deliver in that forward line, I mean, it's going to be one big struggle next season. Of course, we'll be better. De Zerbi, the football's going to be a hell of a lot better, I'm sure, and we will create more chances. But you've still got Solanke and Richarlison up front, who are not the most clinical, technical strikers in the club. We haven't got a left winger. You know, we've got Tell. We don't really know how he's going to get on next season. Maybe we'll see him more games, but a lot of the fan base kind of really doubt him. You've got Wilson, who's out injured. Kudos doesn't really get a lot of goals, but you know that might change playing under De Zerbi. And then Kulusevski, who knows what's going to happen. And then you look at Maddison, again very injury prone, and Xavi's out, isn't it? So you know, unless we sign a couple of forward players, and this is really, really tough, because if you ask all the fans across you know, social media, who they're going to say, everyone's going to have a different name. The club haven't, you know, made any. Looks like we're close to anybody. So you talk about Savio, everybody's like, oh, I'm not sure. Yeah, get Savio in. So whoever they bring in, guys, it's going to be fascinating.
Can I just check with Ash? Is this the Y-Scout tool that you use, Ash, before you come on to last one on Spurs to talk about all the players? I'm just a little bit concerned that so far, watching Kroopy's hit rate on here, it's 1 in 4 at the moment, bro. So I'm a little bit concerned about the level of finishing. And I was just concerned when Dan was talking about the price of Kroopy there, it was based on the kick-ups. And I'm thinking, surely we're not basing the 90 million euros based on how good his kick-ups are.
No. It's a post that Thierry Henry put out. He said, look, everyone knows Julian Alvarez is a world-class player, but if Barcelona can't get the deal over the line, they need to be pushing as hard as possible for Junior Kroopy. Technically, the boy is unbelievable. The way he moves between the lines, the composure in front of goal. Honestly, he reminds me a lot of my younger self. It's a massive investment for the future, but a smart one. As a Frenchman, I'll definitely be rooting for him wherever he goes. But seeing him in the Barca shirt, that would be something special. That's all. That's what I'll show.
The other thing I would say, Ash, is just to go on back of Dan's comment, and I hear what Dan was saying in regards to us wanting to spend the money on a prolific striker. I think the problem is, Dan, that there just isn't a dearth of strikers this summer. I think that is one of the biggest issues you've got. I know, like I say, you've got the names of like Vlahovic that are out there. There's the one that Johnny likes, Said El Mala, a name that's been touted around as well. I think the biggest problem is now, look at the fact Chelsea going to go and get Danny Welbeck from Brighton. I think that kind of tells you all you need to know about just how poor the striker market is this summer. That doesn't mean you can't find good players like we see Brighton and Bournemouth pick up some gems. I just think the biggest issue out there is that there just isn't a huge amount of quality, and whoever you're going to go for is a gamble. And it feels like, as you said, Dan, the players that we are targeting is more players that can kind of play in and around the front three rather than a kind of direct striker. I do have my concerns over both Richarlison and Solanke. I just can't get away from that. I feel the gamble I have with both of them is just around their not only amount of goals they'll contribute, but just whether they'll stay fit. I think that's my biggest concern. You know, I've not stopped saying this about both of those strikers really throughout the summer. So whilst it does seem an obscene amount of money to be talking about for a one-season winger in Kroopy at 90 million or 100 million euros, as Ash put it, you're buying someone there on the basis of the guy's got an incredible potential and is being looked at by a lot of top clubs in Europe. And this may be one of the very few occasions, if ever, Tottenham may be able to be in the race to get a player like this who may want to stay in the Premier League. However, having said that, I do think if a Barcelona comes to the table, unlike Lucas Bergvall, who picked us, who made it a medical to try and work out why he did that at the time himself, I can't see a world in which Kroopy would be picking Tottenham over Barcelona. I hope I'm wrong, and I'm just an honest Tottenham fan. I just don't see why Kroopy would be picking Tottenham over Barcelona unless he truly backs himself and thinks 100% at Tottenham he will get regular first-team football. And I think Savio will get done. I just think it's just a case of City waiting for their replacement to come in, and whoever that will be, I'm confident it will happen. I think Savino's a Tottenham player by everything bar the signature. I know it's a dangerous thing to say with Tottenham because it is Spurs and we've fumbled so many players in the past, but I just can't see how we end this window without Savio, given just what we've seen on social media, the fact the player has not stopped working for us really since the start of the window. So, yeah, I just think the problem, again, I go back to it, I just don't think there's many strikers out there that Spurs are looking at thinking, right, cast nailed on, you're going to get us 20 goals a season. I think that's why they're going for this approach of looking for wingers that are going to contribute to goals in the forward line.
Look, I've got a question, and yeah, well said, Ricky. Well said. I think if we look at Krupi, right? Okay, let's look at it, right? Krupi, where's he playing in this team? Because he's not going to be the number 9. You know, he's not going to play instead of Maddison. He's not a left winger. So where's he playing?
The same position that he played at Bournemouth. So Evan Nelson was up top. He got 6 goals last season, and then you saw Krupi just off him like a secondary striker. So
he's not going to start. He's not going to start then, Ash.
He's similar to one that you saw De Zerbi play with Pedro and Welbeck. So Welbeck was in the 10, Pedro's up top, and then sometimes it was Pedro in the 10 and Welbeck was up top. Versatile. So that's what he means by versatile attacker. He wants the 2 forwards to be able to drop in at times, link play, protect the ball, first time bounce pass around the corner, and then get into the box. Like you see with Solanke sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
But Ash, Maddison plays 10, right? So
yeah, but you could imagine
what does that mean?
So basically, the 10s he would rotate. So the last time he was in the Premier League, he had Enciso, Bonanate, Pedro, all playing the 10, all rotating. So you might have a 3-game stint where you will have a number 10 playing that role, and then he would rotate his 10s out of the team. Similar to like right backs, he'd rotate his right backs and he'd rotate the goalkeepers, because some goalkeepers would do short passing, some goalkeepers he thought were better for long passing. So he'd rotate the goalkeepers, the right backs, the number 10s, and some of the wide positions. So Adingra might swap out for Bonanate at times, you know what I'm saying? Even like on the left-hand side, when you saw Matoma didn't always start on the left. Sometimes he would have a different left winger on that position, and it was to keep them fresh. And if you see now, De Zerbi, since he's gone, Thomas injury prone. He's got a bag of injuries because they've been playing him and running him into the ground. So I think that's his idea. He wants versatile attackers because he just knows different teams will set up in different ways, and therefore this is the reason why he wants certain players to come into that particular role.
No, well, that again, yeah, I totally get it. And I mean, if the price wasn't the issue, I think everyone would be saying yes, right? Same as 50, 60 million, we'll be going great.
You know what? Because the reason why I say money is because before people were like, don't spend too much money in the midfield because then you're not going to have enough money in attack. Now is the time to spend the money in attack. There's no excuses, really.
They're going to break even on the player sales, aren't they? Look at the amount of money they're making from the player sales. They're going to break even at the moment.
It's just a lot of money, 100 million for a squad rotation player, isn't it?
There'll be a lot of pressure on him. That's one thing I will say, Dan. There'll be a lot of pressure on him from the fans.
A lot of pressure.
He's obviously a kid. He's young. He's coming to a bigger club. It's a big step up. But it's whether the kid backs himself enough to get the job done, whether he sees that as a stumbling block. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone will be onto him from minute one. If he has a game that he doesn't play too well, rival fans will be onto him as well. But, bro, it's the name of the game, bro. You know what I'm saying? If we're going to be the new Enid 2.0, we can't be saying, can't spend 100 million on players when we were complaining that we weren't.
But it's 100 million is a lot of money, man. You won't guarantee.
You're more thinking,
man.
But 100 million on 100 million on a prospect compared to 100 million pound on a player that's played in the Premier League is completely different.
So what I want to hear is the alternatives. Big up, Scott Hall in the building, man, aka Yar.
The problem you've got is that he actually doesn't replace Solanke or Richarlison. You still have that problem if Krupi comes in.
I disagree.
Yo, talk your stuff, man. Go on.
I disagree. I'm sorry. I was going to be respectful until it got disrespectful. Because we have to be, and good evening to you guys. Come on, you Spurs, of course. But I have to be brutally honest here. Solanke has spent more time unboxing anime figures than he has been a goal scorer for us as Spurs fans. I think his record for us is something like 1 in 4 games or something like that. I could be wrong, but I know Richarlison's one is definitely 1 in 4.
Yeah.
Now, these
They're both-
are seasoned Premier League vets, if you want to go by the years that they've played. They've given us, Solanke's given us 2 seasons. You can argue that Ange ran him into the ground. And the second season, his body kind of needed to kind of find a way back to normality. But Richarlison, since he's arrived, I mean, there was one season where he had more yellow cards from celebrating offside goals than he did actual goals for us. Fine, he did well if you want to be nice last season in terms of the goals that he got. But it's like, what club are we supporting here? Like, I know we finished 17th for the last 2 seasons, but legitimately, what club are we actually supporting? Are we supporting Spurs or are we supporting Leeds? You make up your mind up. Because if you're supporting Leeds, then Richarlison and Solanke, fine, run with it. Go, like, support them all the way to the wheels fall off. If you're supporting Spurs, well then don't be afraid to go by the motto that they gave to us a couple seasons ago, which they haven't lived up to till probably this summer, which is to dare is to do. Go spend the money. Go give this prospect that had 13 goals in his first season in the Premier League a bigger platform to showcase himself, and we move from there.
But the question was, he doesn't play as a number 9. He plays as a 10. So Solanke and Richarlison still have a future, even if Kroupy comes in, because you're not going to play Kroupy up top if that's not where he's best in his position.
I think he plays more of a false 9, which obviously most people would then put down as a 10. However, in this team or setup, I don't think there's really an issue in him being the 9, especially if you're going to link it up with, say, for argument's sake, a Tel on the left and a Kudus on the right. Because the way the system's looking like in terms of the players, there's not so much rigidness up top. In fact, even in midfield. So if everybody is moving into different positions and selecting different things, well, then I expect my forwards to be capable of figuring out what the best movement might be. From what I've seen of Kroupy, he tends to veer towards the left-hand side of the pitch when he's trying to receive the ball and then obviously take on his man. Well, who's on our left-hand side right now? Tel. And what does Tel tend to do? He tends to veer inside. Well, if them two have a good link up, I'm only speaking like hypotheticals,
of course. Yeah.
But if they have a good link up, well, you've got fantastic movement in front of whoever might be in a 10. Might be Madison, it might be Fernandez playing from deep, it might be Tonali playing from deep, but whoever's looking up to see who's moving and making themselves available for my pass. Well, if you've got 3 absolute fantastic movers up top, then the defense that we're going up against, they're going to struggle. What we have a big problem in. We have Richarlison who can't move, and when he does move, it's like an 18-wheeler truck, so everybody can anticipate his move. And you got Solanke who believes that he's flipping Madara from Naruto, but he's got no moves, no dubs. So what are we doing here? We actually need. When you look, I mean, I've only watched 2 of the preseason games. It's preseason games. I mean, it's nothing to really harp on about. But I'm more watching for the sake of, like, are the players that we're selecting making us look effective in attacking sequences? And the answer to that is yes. Tel had a good game in the last preseason game. I know a lot of people might not rate him. That's fine. I couldn't really care less. There's people that don't rate Tel but rate Richarlison. You make of that what you want. However, for me, it's more of a case of, like, allowing the team to be built in a way where we're very dynamic and players, if needed, can be rotated into different positions. That's my take.
Ori? One of them ones.
I don't care. I really don't. It's been like Savio, Mamouche, Kroupy. If Spurs sign them, then it's going to be someone else. Let's see what happens. Like, it's like, I was just looking at Twitter. Apparently, Kroupy is going to sign, Savini is going to sign, but we don't know. And, like, I would understand. I think what happens is, like, especially with Kroupy, one season Spurs won't link with him, and then all of a sudden Spurs was, and then all of a sudden it's Spurs need to get him, and then Spurs fans get disappointed when Spurs don't get him. We've seen this with other players before. If Spurs can get a deal done for him, cool. If they don't, all right. Like, he's 20 years old, one season. 90 million. I don't think Spurs should pay that for someone, no matter how much potential, because we've all seen what happens with expensive players. Who, you know, Spurs fans are like, 2 years Spurs fans said we need to buy ready-made players, stop investing in youth players. Krupa's 21, he's technically a young player, but because he's got some hype and some fizzle of, oh my God, he's amazing, it's okay, go spend 90 million on him. But like, he's a young player, so we don't know. If Spurs can find a more experienced player for less of the price, I think that's a better option, because De Zerbi's probably want to go for maturity and experience. Yeah, so like, I just couldn't be bothered like caring about it, because even Savio is just like, just get it done. Is it done? Is it not being done?
I hear it.
Yeah,
What's your opinion on Mikey Moore? Like, would you rather have a Mikey Moore start over a Tell, or would you rather have
Mikey Moore's going to get loaned out? He's not going to be at Spurs. He's playing. He's going to get loaned out, and that's a good thing for him. He's still young. Till, like, it's until, like, I don't know Till's mindset. Till might turn around and say, right, I'm going to show you. But the thing is, there's Xavi to come back, Odegaard to come back, Kulusevski eventually to come back. So I think what Spurs fans have to realize is that Spurs have to start selling players now, you know. And the thing is, there's not a lot of clubs going to Richarlison like, he's our guy. You know what I mean? De Zerbi says he likes Solanke, so more than likely they'll keep him. So Spurs have to sell. They can't sell injured players. So, you know, and it's only Tell. And if Savio comes in, then, you know, it's like, whoever Spurs buy for attackers, cool. That's it. That's all I got to say. Mikey Moore's going to go on loan. If Till is still at Spurs next season, fair play. I think Spurs have sorted out the two biggest issues, which is midfield and defense.
Really? Orin, really? You think they were the biggest issues?
Well, if you look at the amount of goals Spurs conceded in the last 2 seasons,
yeah,
that's a lot. And I'm not just talking about who they've bought. It's the cover. They now have, let's say, 4 good centre backs who can play that cover, and and then the midfield. Who did they have? They had Archie Gray, Bergville, Sarr. Then they bought in Conor Gallagher. Bentancur gets injured often. Palhinha was bought in. So I think those are the two main. Like, there's no point having amazing strikers if you can't have midfielders who can't pass on the ball, and that's a biggest issue. And I know people have a go against Solanke, but like, he hasn't played in a team that has, like, how many games did Solanke play with Madison last year? I would say none. How many did he play with Kudus? None. I mean, how many times has Solanke actually played with fully fit, creative players in the last 2 since he signed? I can't think of games.
He had a lot of games under Ange, didn't he? He scored a few goals.
And even that Ange had problems with the defense. So it's coming in and going, right, you know, if we're gonna trust De Zerbi, and Spurs fans are saying they're gonna do it, and Solanke starts, there must be a reason why he's starting with Solanke.
How many like assists and goals do we expect Savio to come and get? Like,
there we go, because he's not proven either. You know what I mean?
Well,
so yeah.
I'm asking a genuine question. Like, what's the minimum?
10, 15 goals, isn't it? You know, 10 assists. That's the sort of level we're looking at.
12 GA. I'm going to go 12 GA.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Is that all? That's very low, man.
And that's because it's kind of, he's not really, again, he's not really proven that he can kind of do that in the Premier League. And I always find that players coming to us, especially with him right now, he's got to settle into not being under Pep as well.
The other I would say though, Mars, we did sign him. He was our club record signing. So at the point of signing him, there would have been an expectation of the season he just come off the back of Bournemouth, him looking to replicate that in the following season. And the season after that, I don't think Tottenham looked at Solanke and were thinking, we're signing this guy to only be contributing 10 to 12 goals a season. They would have signed him as a 60 million signing, thinking this guy was going to contribute at least 15, 20 goals a season. I think I look at someone like Richarlison. I think the biggest problem Tottenham have got now is that Richarlison's quite happy to stay here. That's the biggest problem. He's got a citizenship. So in reality, he doesn't really need to push for a move. And Richarlison probably knows that any move from Tottenham is going to be a downward move. He's not going to go to a bigger club than Tottenham, is he? When you think about Richarlison now, I think in terms of the Premier League, the only kind of team I can see coming in for Richarlison that might appeal to him might be Everton, going back to being United at the Hill Dickinson. David Moyes taking him back there. I just don't think Richie's in a position where he wants to really drop down to another team and play at a lower level unless the project excites him. And I think the thing is, I think he quite likes being at Tottenham. And that's been one of the biggest problems over the years why we've been really hard at selling players is because it's quite comfortable just to stay at Tottenham and not want to go elsewhere. And that's why I think we have seen this summer this kind of change in our approach that when offers are coming in, we are more forthcoming to accept them. And I'm sure we'll come on to probably Bergvall and, you know, his situation at the club and Christian Romero's situation too. But I think the biggest problem we've got right now is that Solanke's quite content in being here. Richarlison's quite content in being here. The only people that aren't quite content is the fan base. We're the only ones, aren't we, that are moaning about the situation.
The only thing is, Ricky, just to counter that, just to play devil's advocate, if I can, De Zerbi might talk to him and say, listen, there's no future for you here, man. Like,
I hear what you're saying. Do you not think we would have heard that by now? I think, given the way Tottenham operated this summer in terms of players going out, look, I might be wrong. All I'm saying is that we're already on tour in pre-season. So clearly, I think Orin said it, and I think Orin's right, is that we conceded at around 180 plus goals in the last 3 seasons. So definitely, whether we like it or not as fans, De Zerbi's priority has been, right, we need to address the defence. We need to address the midfield. He's done that. I would like to have seen the same application done in terms of the forwards, but it's back to, I think, what Orin was saying there around the fact that he clearly feels the most important thing was to bring defenders in that were going to make us more solid at the back.
And can pass as well. Sorry. Yeah, and can actually pass as well. Yeah,
that's fair. But my argument would be is that I think the forwards, in my opinion, are just as a priority as the defenders, because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I think if we roll into the start of the season with Richarlison and Solanke being our only forward options, I've got massive, massive concerns about where the goals are coming from. I think we'll be more solid defensively. I think we won't concede enough. We won't concede anywhere near the amount of goals we were conceding. But I've still got my concerns that in games where teams might deploy a low block, I'm concerned where the goals will come from. And I think that's why at the moment it appears Spurs are favouring to look at wingers rather than centre forwards. But I appreciate what Dan was saying earlier, that the kind of money you're going to spend on a winger, you would like to see that being spent on a forward. I just go back to this point. I just don't think out there right now is a real dearth of strikers that they're willing to take a gamble on. I don't think Rashford wants to stay in the Premier League. I think he looks like he wants to move to La Liga or Italy potentially. Otherwise, I would consider Rashford. I know there's been some concerns in the past around his attitude and application. There's Cody Gakpo at Liverpool, but apparently Liverpool don't want to sell him at the moment. We'll have to see how that plays out towards the end of the window. There's the name Vlahovic being mentioned. I mean, the reality is I just don't see Tottenham getting Vlahovic and Krupi in the same window because the amount of money that's going to cost them wages would be absolutely astronomical. So I think the argument is that they're looking at probably players like a Krupi, like a Savio that can play across the front three, and one of, if not both, Richarlison and Solanke might be here. That's not what I want, but I'm just going to be honest with you. I just don't really see a world in which these players are willing to move on. And I think that's our biggest problem with the forward line. They're not really wanting to move. And Ash will see, like I say, with De Zerbi, if he's going to have those conversations come the end of the window and whether we're presented with any other opportunities. I just think, similar to Vuskovic and Bergvall, had he not wanted Solanke or Richarlison that much, I think Ash would have heard it by now. That's just my feeling on it. You would have heard it by now from Tottenham by the briefing of the journalists. You would have heard there's a willingness to get rid of these players, and you haven't really heard that so far this summer, and we're already nearly at the start of August.
De Zerbi has said 2 players he wants, he expects. 2 attacking players coming in before the end of the window. They're coming. Which ones? Who knows? But if we don't, like Ricky said, if we don't improve that forward line, you know, it's all well and good improving those other areas, but we're going to fall short. When it gets to crunch time, second part of the season, pressure's on, maybe chasing for Europe, maybe in the semi-final or quarter-final, and it's crunch time and you need clinical finishers. So Richarlison, Solanke are not that. You know, they're not clinical enough. They're not good enough.
I don't think. Yeah, but people would argue that Arsenal last year didn't have clinical finishers and still won the league.
I still
Yeah,
think
but they're
Gyökeres, though, to be fair, was a
He
I
scored.
don't agree.
He scored 14.
I mean-
After that was
less
it.
than 50.
We're talking about Arsenal guys who've been building that team.
No, but
for
but
years,
this is going back to what Oren is saying, building defence and the midfield, because that's what basically Arsenal did last year. They
But
built
that doesn't score
first.
you goals, Marlon. Doesn't
Yeah,
score you goals.
But that's the thing. Defense
But
wins
Gyökeres
you
only
games,
scored
though.
14 goals last year.
Yeah, defense wins you games, and like
Saka was next, by the way.
the thing is, it's like
7 goals.
Yeah, 7. Saka only got 7.
The thing is with Solanke as well. At Bournemouth, he was great at scoring tap-ins and being at the end of crosses, because Bournemouth would always get the ball out wide and cross it in, low crosses.
Be like the way Ange played, Oren. Be like the way
So
Ange
that's why Ange bought it. But the issue for Solanke is he never had the players because they were out injured. So I think this season, hopefully, he will have those players. And I think the question is as well, it's like we can all, as fans, we all like to, or fans like to fantasize and live in, let's get this player, let's get this player. But if you look at the PL as a whole, and I've said this last season as well, name 3 top strikers in the Premiership. You can't really. I mean, Haaland, obviously.
You'll probably say, not top, but yeah, you can say top. You could say Ollie Watkins. Some people would disagree.
How many goals did he score last season?
About 15, I think. Around 15 goals, 14, 15 goals.
Yeah. So a lot of, if you remember times where strikers like it was
Teta and then Thiago, that's it, really.
Yeah,
Thiago,
so like even other than Haaland, remove Haaland, there is a striker sure banging 20 goals in the Premiership. I think the way of football has changed. Look at Spain. They won the World Cup without a proper striker. And I think we have to understand, like as fans as well, that we're going into a new phase of football where strikers are maybe not as important as they were like 10 years ago.
You've got to look at the Havertz's, those type of
it's more wingers are scoring.
Wingers are getting the contribution. So
and strikers are just there for tap-ins or to hold the ball up, or so even with the Arsenal striker, he was actually great for Arsenal because he did what he needed to do. He scored when he needed to do, but his presence was just there. It's what striker do you get in? Can they fit the De Zerbi mode? And if they can't, then isn't it better to improve in other areas? Because Spurs definitely need a left winger.
Yeah, I'm just trying to
left winger.
The standard.
Yeah, so if you look Thiago got 20 goals. Yeah, okay. Or no, did he? Did he get 20?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if
he got 22.
Yeah, he got 22. Semenyo got 17.
Between
Then
Bournemouth and City.
16.
Yeah.
João Pedro from Chelsea got 15, and Morgan Gibbs-White
got 15.
15 as well.
That's where we need. That's where we need to spend 100 million.
But this is it. This is why I was like, we might have to change our opinion on how we perceive strikers. Everyone's like, we need a striker, but it might be a case of we need players that can contribute. You know what I'm saying? Like Warren was just saying. So I'm not too hung up on the whole centre forward thing, but.
If we get Krupi, we need another one. Krupi in behind a strong number 9. If we're looking longer term, it won't get done in this window. I can't see us buying 2 strikers in this window. You've got to ship them on. So if it was a Krupi and another number 9, I'd be happy. I'd be a lot more happy. Like the setup you said, Ash. Krupi playing behind Evan Nilsson, right? He's got to have someone who's going to track the ball from him so we can find some space, get away, score a goal. It's a big decision, isn't it? The club have got to make these two forward players, and we just want them in. We get frustrated, don't we? We ain't got a lot of patience. We want them in now, but as we've all been talking, the people are saying there's just not the strikers out there. And when you really delve into it, I think that's true. There's not loads and loads of strikers to go and get out there in Europe and the Premier League. Yeah, it's not an easy decision, guys. I think.
What's your solution then? What do you reckon? Like, would you take like a Gakpo if obviously they get Barcola, for example, and then Gakpo wants to be the main guy? What's your thoughts, on the striker situation?
I agree that there isn't the striker market right now is absolutely terrible. Right? Probably across world football, there's strikers out there, but they're all at relative clubs that you don't really see them wanting to or being willing to move from. So in the Premier League, if you're looking at who you would take, obviously you're going to look at who did numbers last season or who did relatively well last season. But I feel like if you're going to sign a striker for Spurs, it needs to be somebody that, you know, we don't feel like they've got a trampoline touch, you know. So, you know, like Thiago was one that was mentioned, but Lord have mercy, you know, the ball gets played into his feet and it ends back in the stands if it's not in the back of the net. It's one of the two. So I'd much rather not have to go through that sort of like heart palpitations, you know, especially at my age, you know, I'd rather not experience that. So for me, maybe somebody like a Marmouche, if the option, like, I'm not really hung on Krupi as, you know, the number one option. It is technically the shiny new toy that everybody is, you know, you know, kind of grasping towards. But he did have a good season last season, especially for his first season coming into the league. So, you know, there is something to build off. It's technically what we bought Solanke for. You know, he had one good season where he scored 19 goals. You know, fair on him. We bought him. We haven't seen that return since. It's the risk you take. So yeah, for me, if it's not really a Krupi, I mean, if you're gonna get Krupi, technically, I would agree that we should get somebody else on the wing side, because, you know, like I don't feel like our left hand side was really like nailed down last season. We definitely nailed down the right hand side onto Kudus, kind of like was running to the ground and got injured, but the left hand side was up in arms. But Marmouche, I don't think he's been given a fair chance at Man City, and Pep Ball is very rigid. So, you know, if you don't play a particular style, you kind of like get used as a bit part. He could be somebody I'd be excited to see.
Wolvermader, Newcastle are looking to move him on.
That's the German, yeah, the tall German Crouchy. Listen, he's got a great first touch, but I don't think he's a goal scorer.
He's a number 10, isn't he?
He's a weird one. He doesn't give me confidence in front of goal. Like, for me, it's more like it'll be volume. So if we got him like 5 chances in a game, he'll probably bag 2 of them, which is great. But how often have we given our strikers?
Is he better than what we got, Wolvermader? Is he better than what we got?
He got 8 goals. He got 8 goals last season, so that's less than Richie, to be fair.
Yeah, he's got a better first touch than Richarlison, though, hasn't he?
He's got better.
I mean,
we go from
if he's only getting 8 goals at Thug Life Newcastle, WWE Newcastle, then, you know, like, it's not.
To be fair, though, a lot of Newcastle fans did say with Ultima that they played him, like, what's his name, Eddie Howe, played him wrong, so like in the wrong positions.
Played him as a 10, innit?
Yeah, that wasn't his position. You could tell from when he played for number 21s in Germany.
Well, he played him as a 10, but what's De Zerbi going to do?
That's the question.
No, I think De Zerbi would put him as a striker. Like, I know De Zerbi gets this kind of like prep of like, oh, you know, he might move players here and there, but I think he's quite fair. Like, if he looks at a player, he's like, nah, you're definitely striker. Like, to hear that Eddie Howe's playing, you know, crouchy and flipping midfield, what you did? Like, this is not Joe Linton 2.0. Like, you don't do this kind of stuff. Like, you know, I've heard De Zerbi recently talk about Archie Gray. Now, we might actually start the season with Archie Gray at right back. And I'm not trying to change the subject. I'm just giving you an example. We might actually start the season with Archie Gray at right back because Porro and Spence went further in the tournament with England and Spain respectively. So they're going to need time to rest. So Gray won't play in his midfield role, but De Zerbi's come out and said, no, this guy's a midfielder. It's just unfortunate that he's very good or decent at other positions. Like, he's a utility man that you can use. And that's the unfortunate circumstance right now. So no, I don't really want to, if like I said, if we're going to sign a striker, it has to be somebody who I think's got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, like a Marmouche, you know, somebody who's not really been given a fair crack. But if there was like a bulldozer type striker, I'll go for Brobbey. I'll go for that kid at Sunderland. Yeah, that's a pure monster. That's a pure monster.
No, but
the name doesn't even make sense. It's meant to be Bobby, but they added an artery accidentally.
Exactly, that's who you went at the club. I don't know, man. I'm not sure about Brobbey, man. Ajax, he was decent though. I'm gonna lie. I was looking at him, but I want to talk about Madders, bro. Can we talk about Maddison, or do you want to stay on the subject?
Madders has
being, fingered, pause, that, he might be the capo. He might be the lieutenant, first man in charge. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should Madison be captain? What's the start, man?
Yeah, I think he should. Basically, he likes everyone. Watching the training videos and all, like he walks around and he like hugs everyone, talks to everyone. He keeps everyone going. That was the reason why he was on the bench, even though he didn't play. It was like he's just someone who motivates, and I think that's what Spurs need. They don't need, and also Madison will respect the club. So basically, he'll never have like Son Heung-min. He might not have been on the pitch, but behind closed doors, everyone really liked him, and he would never ever throw this club, Spurs, under the bus or slagged anyone off because. And I don't think people will say, "Oh, because he's not." It's like, no, he has respect. Respect your employers. That's what you do. You do it behind closed doors. Like if you walked into your boss and work and said, "This company's shit. You're shit. You're not paying me enough," you get sacked straight away. That doesn't add anything. So I think Madison is the guy who's going to be like, because it's rumored that between him and Van de Ven, because Van de Ven's in talks for a new contract as well. So I think Madison will get it because of his popularity. He's very good at motivating, and I think a lot of players get behind him. And again, like I said, he's not going to be one who's going to, hopefully, fingers crossed, Spurs don't go through a bad spell.
Good question though. So do you think that the captaincy's now changed? And what I mean by that is that you don't have to necessarily be on the pitch to be club captain anymore. Yeah. Because what's the likelihood of Madison actually playing?
Well, that's why you always have a vice captain. So I think if Madison gets the captain, and I think Mickey Van de Ven will be vice captain, or other way around. It just really depends. But I can strongly see those two. I don't know if this is going to be like a leadership group. I don't know if De Zerbi does that, but that doesn't really work. This whole leadership group, and
I think he has
does he do? I don't know. I haven't heard.
I think that's the way that football's going now, isn't it?
Is it just all this silly little?
It's just like. Can I just say that before I forget it, and Orin carry on? I love the way you described the insight of Romero last season as captain. You're shit. This club is shit. I hate it. I want to get out. That generally was like Romero's fine, wasn't it? We all hate it here.
To be fair, I know what you're saying. He shouldn't speak out against, but actually, when you actually think about the timing and what he said, it was exactly of how we were all feeling at the same time as well.
I get that, but leave that to the fans, because what it looks like if you. This could, just as my conspiracy theory hat on, Mickey Van de Ven and Romero were close, but by the end of that season, there was no. I think Mickey Van de Ven looks at him and go, "Do I want to be inspired by someone who's like that?"
Totally
no,
agree.
I don't. I don't want to be inspired by someone like anymore.
But Mickey Van de Ven also, and again, the disrespect that him and Spence gave Frank in public, again, that shouldn't. This is you're not talking about club captain, and everyone's talking about him being vice. And Van de Ven on more than one occasion has stepped out of line a little bit when it comes, and everyone's now talking about him being captain. When Madison,
it's a difference. There's a big difference.
No, but I think you're being. Listen, sorry to chime in, but I think Frank got to a point where he had to be disrespected.
Yeah.
You can't have a man telling you like,
but you shouldn't
be like Arsenal. If your partner or somebody in your life was like, be like Ash, be like at some point you're gonna start insulting them. You're gonna be like, shut off. Like, I don't want to be like Ash. I want to be me. Yeah. This is the problem I had with Frank. Yeah, and you can hear it in the way like Nicky talks about it, because I do actually believe that Madison should be the captain. But you can hear it in the way Mickey talks. He doesn't even refer to Frank by name.
No,
he just talks about.
That's not the point.
The point I'm trying to make, Marlon, is the point I'm making is that Van de Ven disrespected the manager, and this was after Spurs lost again at home, 3-0, I think it was, getting booed by everyone, and Frank's like, "Guys, come on, let's go over and plot." No. They've been doing
drop kicked him.
Yeah, they've been doing that like pretty much all season. Before that, this wasn't. If it was a one incident in a game, but what did Van de Ven do after that? Midweek, he scores that screamer. You know what I mean? And Frank even said, "Well, if that's the case." So yes, I understand Mickey Van de Ven getting frustrated, but it was frustrated at losing again, getting booed at home again, and the manager saying, "Right, lads, let's go over and clap." It's like, I'm sick and tired of facing these fans who are booing, because even Mickey van de Ven, like Mickey van was offering someone to meet him outside as a
so
player.
Romero,
Romero.
So why is Romero not getting? Why is Romero's getting?
Because Romero.
But so why is it
I'll
one
answer the
rule
question.
for
The reason why is because Romero slugs the club off, says they don't do this, plays a game, and then gets sent off and gets banned for 3 games. That's the difference. He doesn't score a goal. He stayed at the club saying we need this, and he did it.
Van de Ven get sent off as well?
No.
Against Palace.
Yes, against Palace, but it wasn't right.
Did that not cost us the game?
No, it wasn't right. It wasn't right. You're not. You see, you're trying to twist things, but
no. I'm trying to.
You have to hear me out. I'm giving you context.
Romero on this
no, I
pedestal,
am giving you. I'm giving you
Romero's
context.
Completely different.
No, it's not. I'm giving you. Yes, I'm giving you context.
But
I am giving you context.
He was there.
Romero slated the club, said they weren't ambitious enough, then played against Man United, did a stupid tackle, and got banned for 3 games. That's what he did. Van de Ven, yes, he did get sent off against Crystal Palace, but it wasn't after making a big, long Instagram post saying how the club hasn't shown this. The club, and Van de Ven is not the captain. He's not the highest paid player. He wasn't, given the different chances. And also, he's not a player who has been sent off as much as Romero. Romero is a liability. As good as he is when he's on form, he is a liability. And I think Romero is probably injured again because people forget that again in the final he had to come off because he's injured again. So whether he's going to stay or not, he's just very toxic. And we all say that.
Finish, Aaron, please.
No. That's pretty much it. It's like I understand what you're saying about Van de Ven, Marlon. Why should he get captain? But I think Van de Ven was pissed off at losing constantly all the time. But he kept quiet, kept his head down, and then he performed. Whereas Romero slates the club again. He did perform.
No one in that team performed last year.
No. Towards the end of the season, Van de Ven, you have to remember, Van de Ven spent the whole season uninjured. Didn't get one injury. So yes, he didn't perform. But what I'm saying is,
in the last 7 games,
when De Zerbi came in, he stepped up. Didn't do anything stupid.
Romero got injured against Sunderland. Come on.
Yeah, but that's
no.
Maybe you can say this in a different way.
We've got to stop. We got to stop this.
I'm not defending Romero, by the way.
It's more a case of. But we need to. It's
different to the other. And
it is different.
No, it's not. It's actually not. But here's the problem. In the time that Romero's been at the club, he's had the first season where he didn't really give us much. Had a few injuries, had a few suspensions. Unfortunate, probably poor refereeing. Didn't give us much. Second season, much better. Still got some injuries. Unfortunate. Comes into Ange's time period, gets a few injuries, gets a few suspensions again, but we end up winning the Europa League. But one of the common denominators with Romero is it seems to be that for Spurs, we don't know what version of Romero we're going to get. We don't know if we're going to get the concentrating, you can't get a yellow card in the next few games or you're going to be suspended again, or we're going to get the guy that's just going to lose his head and just get sent off. We don't know what Romero we're going to get. But what we have seen as Spurs fans is that whenever Messi calls him, he's available. So for me, we can't be turning around and saying like, okay, yeah, he's right to call out the club. And he was, by the way, as a Spurs fan, I'm saying this. What he was saying in terms of calling out the club for how the club had operated, I'm not against. But you cannot be the person delivering this message and then giving us absolute trash on the weekend as paying customers. Well, we're coming to see the guy that's apparently put the club on his back, and yet you're having an earlier shower than most of us attending the game. Now, what's going on here?
Yeah, you do your job, mate, isn't it? I agree, man. I agree. It's you do your job. You do your job on the pitch and then speak, right? That's where you're coming from.
That's all it is. That's all it is. So with Mickey, yes, Mickey did have a poor season, but in those final 7 games, even after the Sunderland game, it was Mickey and Danso, and we survived. You cannot take that from nobody. The attitude was better. I wasn't hearing players complaining. I didn't even see players stropping on the pitch. I saw players trying to keep us up, and we survived. We've come into pre-season. I haven't heard diddly squat. I haven't heard a player insult the club. Obviously, yes, I know we've gone and spent the money that we're going to spend, but I haven't heard a player say jack about the club. The ones that I have heard,
they won't right now, will they? We're in the first couple
No. But I disagree, because we've heard from agents, or whether it's the players themselves giving information to agents, and I'll use Bergvall as an example. we've heard that, oh, he's looking for to leave. Why? Because we've gone and spent 185 million on our midfield. So what you're telling me is, yeah, that instead of you wanting to stay and fight for your place, you're willing to up and hightail out because you want an easy ride. That's how I look at it. Whereas Mickey, we've gone and bought Senesi, we've gone and bought Van Hecker. Now, I'm not saying Senesi's going to come take Mickey's chain or anything like that, but it's worthy competition. I ain't heard him say, oh, I ain't heard nothing from his camp saying, oh, yeah, they're looking to leave. But at the top of the summer, before we had signed anyone, it was Mickey's being linked to Liverpool. I'm not making none of this up. So for me, it's yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, that's fine. I'll let Scott finish his point. Go on, Scott. You carry on, and I'll let you.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, I'm not saying that Mickey should be the captain. I agree with most of the takes in terms of Maddison should be the captain because of the way he portrays himself, because of the way he shows love to the club, and he does seem like a worthy motivator to the rest of the team. But your vice captain has to be somebody else from the fence. It can't be one of the new guys that have come in. Come on, that's just an insult to people that have been at the club already. So it's going to be a toss-up between Porro and Mickey. And if it's me, I'm just going to take Mickey.
All I would tell Mickey, just to follow on from what Scott said there, Marlon, what I do agree with you is I think people will easily forget last season. You said it a lot on Last One of Spurs about Mickey, that there was occasions like you referenced that he did offer fans out. I think Bournemouth always been a ground that we seem to have really big problems there in the last couple of seasons where we've had a number of crowd clashes and manager clashes, whether it was Ange, whether it was Frank as well. For me, I don't think Mickey should even be considered for the vice captaincy unless he's going to sign a new contract with the club. And it seems to have gone really under the radar at the moment. You know, you look at the defenders Tottenham brought in. Mickey now at the moment is one of the lowest paid defenders that we've got at the football club, right? I think Ben Davies is on more money than Mickey at the moment. That's not me saying Ben Davies.
Legend.
Member of the book, obviously chief member of the book club, Ben Davies. But I think Mickey's situation at the club is that as much as he should be given praise for these comments that he's shown, and you know, Scott is 100% right that whereas in Bergval's case, because competitions come in, he wants to get it out of here because he's got concerns over playing regularly. Mickey's embracing the challenge. But having said that, De Zerbi, don't forget, did say in those final 7 games, I think in the build-up to them, that he described Van der Ven as the best left-sided centre-back in the Premier League. So he already knows that De Zerbi really, really likes him. At the end of the day, I've still got reservations that until Mickey signs that new contract, if Liverpool do come in for Mickey, I would not sit there and say 100% he's going to be a Tottenham player, because I think Jason's referenced it as well on Last One on Spurs, that Virgil van Dijk is creaking at the moment at Liverpool. And Iriola likes to play that high line, like Ash has said many, many times. I think we were looking at Iriola as a manager. So Mickey feels like almost the perfect kind of player for Liverpool. So if we do not sign down to a new contract, Tottenham in the next 12 months are going to be up against it when it comes to the negotiations for Mickey, unless we're going to go and have the most amazing season and compete for the league. So I think the contract situation with Mickey is one that needs addressing fairly urgently. We've heard suggestions that it's a priority. That's what we've been told by a number of the journalists that have come onto Last One on Spurs across the summer. And I think at the moment that Mickey should not even be considered as the vice captain until we have clarity over his contract. If he signs a new contract, absolutely fine, not a problem. Happy to give Mickey the vice captaincy. Like Marlon, you said as well with regards to Maddison, the fact of the matter is that if we are going to give Maddison the captaincy, we're admitting that it's now no longer going to be somebody that's going to be an on-pitch captain all season. Because going back to what Orin said as well, Maddison is a great ambassador for the club. He's a great spokesman, unlike, with all due respect to Romero. And I mean this with no due respect either, because everyone knows that my wife is foreign, so this is no disrespect whatsoever I'm going to say right now. But Romero doesn't really do English-based interviews, does he, at all during his time at Tottenham? I think he done the one when he got the captaincy. Obviously, Maddison can represent the club worldwide. He's a global ambassador. He talks very, very well, and he just does seem like somebody that does portray the club good on and off the pitch. You know, when we got in that situation last season with Romero, to be faced where Tottenham could have been relegated going into the final week of the season, and Romero decided in that moment that he thought going into that final week, that being there for his boyhood club's cup final, as opposed to being there for Tottenham's final game of the season, the possibility Tottenham could have got relegated, he massively misread the room. Now, I think it was set up from Tottenham because they authorised him to go, but I don't think Romero really fully understood the backlash he was going to get from Tottenham fans come the end of that week. Yes, admittedly, he obviously made a decision that he wanted to be there at the stadium. I think that was more of his agent saying to him, look, you're going to risk, you know, losing any kind of credibility you've ever had with Tottenham fans. You know, forget Bilbao. If Tottenham had got relegated, I think there would not have been a fan in the world that would have respected Romero at all. And look, the fact Tottenham stayed up and the fact that he was at the game, and look, even with this summer, if he moves on, there'll be some fans that will say, look, they'll thank him because he was part of a Tottenham side that went and won a trophy and he was the captain. There won't be that amount of anger there was for Romero like there might have been had Tottenham got relegated. But I just think with Mickey, until he signs a new contract, I don't think he should be anywhere near the vice captaincy. And I think, going back to the point about Maddison, it's a bit more of a pure vibes appointment because he does represent the club as a whole in a greater light when it comes to a worldwide aspect.
Yeah.
With regards to the contract.
Before you go there, can I just read a quote from him and then just go straight in? I just want to read what he said. So Mickey van der Ven praises Tottenham for the business summer and their new ambition. It's really good that you can see the club have made some changes. They've brought a really good new manager, in my opinion, and some really good new signings. You can see the club has new ambition. It's something that's really important for players that have been there for a long time. From yours truly, your boy, Alistair Gold. Carry on, Orhan. Take it away.
Yeah. Looking at it, I think Van Heck was bought in to partner with Mickey van der Ven. I really do. They know each other. Like, there was a video of them like high-fiving each other. They're going to be a good partnership. And Van Heck is a lot more, let's say, responsible. I don't think he got a lot of red cards at Brighton, if any. So I think these signings are made, and I think Spurs are going to go all out to keep Mickey van der Ven, sign him a longer deal. I don't think, like, Mickey van der Ven would definitely have wanted to go if Spurs hadn't have made these signings. And I think Spurs look at the two and went, right, who do we want as the main, like, kind of face of centre-back? Romero, van der Ven. And they've picked van der Ven. He's younger. Fans tend to like him more. As I said, he doesn't get in as much trouble. And I just think that he's going to be, even like when, let's not forget, for those 7 games, was Van der Ven the captain as well? And he was majority of the times the captain. But like, even the way he's been speaking to giving interviews, I mean, I remember he was speaking like after Spurs got defeated, he was stepping up. So I think Spurs look at him and go, right, he can be our almost like a version of Van Dijk, our top defender, get him in a big contract, make him a star player, give him all he wants, build a team, not almost around him, but like show him. So I think that contract is going to sign, but Mickey's smart as well. He's going to say, like, let's see what happens. And I guarantee if Spurs sign a new attackers or whatever, and things are going well, I think Mickey van der Ven will sign a new contract.
I just want to play this video because I haven't actually watched it, so we can hear what.
Yeah. This is
real quick, and then anyone can just chime in afterwards as well. Because obviously we are talking about Maddison, but Van der Ven, obviously we know his availability. He's more likely to be second in charge. So let's just actually hear what the guy's got to say real quick. I don't know if the volume's up. Let me know if you can hear it.
It's really good that you see that the club is making some changes and that they bring obviously a new manager in, a really good manager in my opinion, and some really good signings. And I think in this way you can see that the club has some new ambition. That's also really important for players who have been there for a longer time. Like the last couple of weeks from last season, you also saw that he brought a lot of passion into our group, like a lot of like mentality-wise and passion-wise on the pitch. Obviously something we needed as well because everybody was a little bit down. And he started to play a lot with the ball because he loves to be on the ball. He loves to play the football he wants to play, and that's also something I really enjoy because I like being on the ball instead of running behind the ball the whole time. So he brings a lot of good energy, and also now from pre-season we really got the time now to bring his football into the team, and that's really enjoyable. It's really good that you see that the club.
Digging out, aren't you?
Right.
There it is. I mean, like I mean, I was interested, like, even last year, he was the one doing interviews. He was the one getting asked, and he was the one getting asked by Sky Sports. And I think that was put forward because, like Ricky says, Romero's not good at English. Every time Romero spoke English, it just reminded me of Channing Tatum, Jeff, from, whatever. Jeff, my name is Jeff. And you can tell he was struggling. So they looked at Mickey van der Ven and go, like, you're going to be the voice, and it's going to continue that. I just think that he will sign a contract, and as I said before, I believe that he should be made either captain or vice captain. And I think Van Hekke was bought in to complement him.
Look, Van der Ven, guys, he to his own admission said he didn't have the best of season last year. I know he's one of many in that team. So he's got a bit of proving to do, isn't he, next season, Van der Ven, I think. But what Ricky says about the contract, signing the new contract, I think, yeah, if he's going to be a captain, vice captain, that's got to be sorted. I agree with what he says there. If he's going to be at the club longer term, because, yeah, he could obviously go off to Liverpool or someone next season. So with the captaincy, I like the captain to be a centre-back, to be honest. I like the idea of Maddison being captain. It makes a lot of sense, but he's going to miss half the games probably. Well, maybe not that many, but we just don't know how he's going to last. And then there's the conversation is that, you know, club captains, it's changed these days. They don't have to be on the pitch. Oh, guys, let De Zerbi decide the captain, and, you know, he's the best man to decide, right? And we just got to back him. One thing he will do, though, he won't have any of that nonsense like we saw under Frank. You know, that, you know, players walking off the pitch like that. He's strong guy, De Zerbi. We've all seen it. He's got a bit of something about him. So, yeah, I trust him with that to make the right decision. But there's not a real clear standout captain at the club right now. I think potential captains, Van Hecker maybe for the future, Tonali, but they've just got here. So they've got to be here for a little while to see.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you so much. There isn't actually, when you actually look at the squad, apart from probably Maddison at the top and Robertson, to be fair, but he's only just joined.
Yeah,
there actually isn't a person that you could sit there as a Spurs fan and say actually is a natural leader.
Well, what you can say is there is a lot more strong characters. There's a lot more experience. There's a lot more.
Yeah, there's a lot more experience. It's just that leadership part, isn't it?
The armband thing is just like the PR. Who's going to do the talking, whatnot. You do need someone on the pitch, obviously, that's going to get the guys cooled down. Because thing with Maddison, he's not as emotional as Mickey Van der Ven. He's not as emotional as a Porro. Do you know what I'm saying? Them guys there. Mickey Van der Ven, he said he was struggling. He said, I'm not going to lie, I was struggling. We saw how he argued with the fans as well at certain points. Madders ain't going to do that. Do you understand? He's a bit more mature. He's been a captain with Leicester. He's been about. So he's a bit more secure. And even like I was saying before, Van Hecker, out of the two of them, he's more of the leader. He was the leader and the captain for Brighton, if you don't remember. And then also, Senesi was voted the best player for Bournemouth. So those two centre-backs right there, you've already got two strong leaders, two strong talkers already, regardless whether Mickey Van der Ven's there or not. I just think Maddison, like we saw it, even like you were saying, the point you've made is relevant. Like even if he's on the pitch or he's not. Last season, he wasn't even on the pitch, but De Zerbi decided to bring him in, irrespective of how many spaces were left, because certain young players could have played. And he was like, you know what? I'm putting him in the squad. You know what I'm saying? He was the one to galvanize the team. And De Zerbi made a big point of that. So I think that's going to be transferred into this season as well. And even like the last couple of games that Maddison played, you could tell he wasn't even match fit. And now we're seeing him in pre-season. He hasn't started one pre-season game. That just tells you that he wasn't even match fit starting last season. He wasn't even ready for them. But you know, like certain players, they're like, you know what? I need to be there for my team. I want to be there for the team. And I think that's where fans are looking at Maddison, who wasn't even fit, versus Romero. He's outside. He's in Argentina. You know what I'm saying? Watching his boyhood club win trophy, or tried to win a trophy. They didn't even win in the end. And then obviously the optics look bad, and then Spurs looked bad for letting them go, and then all of a sudden they came back to support the team. Like it's all a mess. But with Madders, like Oren said, because he's English and that, it just translates a bit better. It's a bit like when Ange came over and he could speak English, and it was just easy to understand. The messaging was clearer. People could get behind it. Culturally, it's appropriate. Do you know what I'm saying? He gets it, and he's not scripted as well. You can just tell he just talks off the dome. You know what I'm saying? He just talks from his heart. People love it. You know, if you even watch his posts, you might even hear some like, I don't know, some Coldplay or something. And people are like, yeah, I like that. Do you know what I mean? He feels like, oh, he's proper Spurs. You know, yeah, he's one of us. So I just think it just makes sense, bro. Just do it. That's my opinion anyway on the matter. I get it.
I'm going to have to shoot on. See you later. See you next Monday.
Cool. So yeah, no, I do get it. Like he's not going to be there 70% of the games. I just think with one game a week is more likely that he would start more games. And then also, as I said before, the way De Zerbi likes to rotate the number 10s, there's not every game that Maddison's going to play. And we saw it under Ange. He took him off at West Ham at certain times. I remember they brought Sarr on, and then he did it again the game after when he didn't even play Maddison. So I just expect De Zerbi to do the same as well, man. But yeah, I think he'll be captain in this. Yeah, that's it.
So, captain, done. Van der Ven done.
Chelsea coming up. I know we got a preseason game before that.
Yeah.
I think Chelsea's the game that I'm really looking at. I don't know. Like, when's the next preseason game? Is it tomorrow? Is it Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Who is it we got? Who are we playing against?
Sydney.
THFC. So for me, like that game, I reckon it's going to be bare young bucks. I reckon the youngsters are going to come out again. People are going to be looking forward to is it LW? What's his name? Luco Williams Barnett, LWB. Sounds like a left wing back. Him, I'll be looking forward to him. I just think Chelsea, when we play them, I think we'll see more of the senior guys come through. You know what I'm saying? I don't think maybe you might see a Fernandes, maybe you might see Tonali against Sydney. But I think more against Chelsea, we'll see the double pivot again, and we'll see what's happening. And more of a what we're going to look like under De Zerbi, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, it's a little bit worrying, guys, with the players. They're protecting a lot, aren't they? De Zerbi's made a couple of points here, like, we can't play these players, they're not ready, they're wrapping them up in cotton wool. That worries me for the season. I know we had a horrid injury record last year.
Yeah,
but like Maddison, and
do you really want to risk
it's a bit overkill, though, isn't it? It's like, it's a bit overkill. I think.
For pre-season, do you want to go into a season where Maddison got injured against Newcastle? Do you remember that? Do you really want to make that same mistake? Play Maddison again
Ash, if that's the case, if you can't play him a pre-season game for 45 minutes, he's no good to us.
No, but I'm just thinking it's like there's risks and there's caution, and I think that's being cautious. That's what it is. I think we will see him. I think against like the Hoffenheims, like towards the back end, that's when you'll see Maddison. You'll see more of the full team. Might see the first 45 minutes, like you're saying, young bucks.
So is he not fit then, Ash? Is this it? Is he not fit? Is he fit? What's going on there?
Oh, he played the last 2-3 games at the end of the season. So, like, I just think there have been a lot more. Like, to me, it makes sense, isn't it? Why risk him against Auckland?
Why is it? Every game's a risk, though, isn't it? Every game they play pre-season, the season gets going. Every game's a risk. If that's going to be an issue throughout the season, we need to get another number 10 in.
No, we do need to get number 10 in. I think 110 is still going to be strong enough.
If he takes the risk early on, say Maddison happens again.
Van der Ven may be playing. How about that?
Okay. What I'm more thought was is at least we've now got time to go, and we had time last year. But if you go and play them towards the back end, and yes, they get injured, you're scrambling around a couple of weeks before the season.
You need to see if this guy can keep fit, can stay fit in a game and survive a game of football.
I think that's a lot for a lot. Like, I don't look, Tonali and Fernandes, they've just come in. But for the guys that have missed half the season, you kind of want to see them now, because these are the guys that you kind of are going to be relying on.
Risk it, man. I wouldn't do it that way.
Yeah, but what about if you get to Brentford and they get injured?
I respect it. No, bro. I would put them in towards like the Hoffenheim games. That's when I'll start bringing them in.
Yeah, but it's two in 2 days.
So bring them in slowly. So like you could put Kudus in now, right? And say try to rush. I wouldn't rush any player back.
Yeah, but Kudus ain't ready.
Kudus is different, isn't it? He's on a recovery.
Yeah, but so was Maddison. Maddison was on recovery.
He played at the end of the season, Ash. He played games.
I reckon that was him being Maddison saying, "No, Gaffer, like we can't let this club go down." And the Gaffer's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" He's like, "Listen, if I get injured, like
we need to know." But
I think it's more him being like Madders, isn't it? You know, like
he's injured.
They got a little knock.
But if he's injured, then we're going to get a lot of what we saw. Not last season, the season before. We're going to get a lot of him being just injured again, and we need to know early if we're going to be relying on this guy or not.
I'm not going to rely on him.
I do think that there is the team. The club is being cautious for one. So I do agree with Ash. They're being cautious, but I also think we as fans were getting a bit like over worried here. Like, listen. He's had a long layoff, and he got to play a few games. He repped up a few. Again, even with Kulu, but like with Maddison, he played towards the back end. He got a few minutes. He got a few reps, and from like, my history of like even playing football, you don't just like go all out into pre-season. We just signed Tonali, we just signed Fernandes. They haven't even ramped up their minutes. You got to build them up slowly, because with younger players you can kind of like throw them in the deep end and kind of like say, all right, get your reps in, get as many minutes as you want, because their body is quick to recover. But for the more older players, you got to say, all right, cool, we're going to give you 45 minutes here, 30 minutes here. We're going to build your match fitness up over the pre-season, and then maybe game week 1 you're not fully match fit, but by game week 2 you should be. And if done correctly, then we don't have to really worry too much about Maddison. We can be like, all right, fine. Game week 1 against Brentford, their level of fitness and our level of fitness might be relatively the same. It might not. You never know how their preseason's gone, but it might be relatively the same. We might not have to risk Maddison. Game week 2, we can play Maddison. Game week 3, we can say, all right, how are you feeling right now? You've had a few days rest. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Start a game. Hopefully we do well in that game. 60 minutes, sub him off for whoever we bring off the bench. But because he's an elder player, he's getting towards the tail end of his career, probably the last 4 or 5 seasons of his career. You don't just throw him in and say, yeah, we need you to get like immediate minutes now in preseason. We got 1 game a week next season. We do not need to ramp this up. What we do need, and I do agree that we do need like to maybe consider getting another 10, but I think they're going to hold off on that because Kulu is back in training and they're building him back up, and the same with Kudus. I don't think we're going to see Kulu to probably after this weird international break, but if managed correctly by January, you could have 3 number 10s in Kulu, Maddison, and Xavi back at the club. So I think the club are probably assessing this better than they have over the last few seasons. I do understand that as fans we can be wary and worried, and we should be, because our injury record over the last 2 seasons have been absolutely woeful. But I also do believe that the managers of the last 2 seasons hold massive blame for that as well.
Do we think, guys, that the club have actually got to be honest with us and say, look, this is the situation with Maddison. We're worried about, because he's had this major injury, is he going to have another? It's a bit of communication could be a bit better. Maybe it's just kind of too
I don't think so. Like if I'm being honest, I don't think so. I almost look at Maddison's situation a bit similar but slightly different to Ledley King. In the sense of like, we didn't have the joys of we had internet, but we didn't have the joys of information we had now. If we knew that Ledley was not training, we would have been throwing fits.
Harry told us.
What do you mean? No, but nobody listened to Harry. Like this is the same guy that went to court and said he writes like a 2-year-old. Like nobody listened to Harry. Like we never knew as fans that this was gospel till literally last week, where Ledley King goes and does a sit down and is like, yeah, I wasn't training. What do you mean you wasn't training? And we're throwing you into 90-minute matches? Oh, like
it was just swimming, wasn't he? It was just swimming.
Yeah, swimming on the Friday.
So I'm not saying that we shouldn't be concerned, because concern obviously allows you to be prepped and ready for whatever happens. But I don't think we should be as concerned because of the way the club and the manager are going about things. Like this is the first season in a while, probably since like Poch in his heyday, where I'm like looking at the team, looking at preseason, and I'm like, all right, yeah, cool, this player's coming back and building. Every other season after like Poch's little hay run, I've been like, nah, we need this, we need that. Nah, we're gonna struggle. Like I've been more worried going into the season than I have this season. Like right now, my only concern is probably the forward role, and even then, I'm like, well, if we get all our like injured players back, we can kind of like do a little bit of patchwork up top. But the midfield seems to be set. The defense seems to be set for the first time in like 4 seasons.
I'm with you.
I'm more convinced with like the manager at the helm than I've ever been. I absolutely despised Ange. I've got no love for him whatsoever.
Scott, I've got to come in here, mate, and say something, Scott, because this is a good point where I can come in here and say to you, because it's all about expectations, and all of you can comment on this in the chat, on the panel. It's all about expectations, because I hear, and what I listen to and what I read, is that because Spurs are spending X amount of money, we're going to sign a couple of forward. Expectations is Spurs must, and I say must, come top 4, top 5. Now, Scott, you can start with you here. What is your expectations for next season, buddy?
I still think we've got a little bit of work to do in the transfer market, but with 1 game a week, honestly, we should be getting into Europe. Now, we have a problem in the Premier League where currently I think Europa is 7th. Is that right?
Yeah.
So 7th, 6th, 7th. Is it? 6 is Europa, 7th is Europa, right? And then 8th is conference, or am I wrong in that?
It's about right, yeah. It could
Yeah,
change.
as long as
change
we get the
throughout.
extra Champions League spot again, then yeah.
Okay, which I think we will, by the way. So like, I'm looking at it as like top 5 is Champions League, 6th place is Europa, 7th place is Europa.
Mhm.
Now, realistically, how quickly can you jump from 17th, which we have been over the last 2 seasons, whether we deserve to be there or not? But how quickly can you jump from there with 1 game a week to top 5? And I'm looking at the teams around that would be considered top 5 or the top 8 teams currently, and I'm saying Europe and their squads are going to come back to bite them. It happened to us literally last season. I reckon realistically we should be looking at 6. That's a good barometer.
Yeah,
challenge.
because you're looking at Villa, Bournemouth, Sunderland, and Brighton, who've all got European football next year.
Yes.
And don't have to and will not have the squads. We can clearly see
Correct.
they're not going to have the squads for next year. So the only 3 teams, even Newcastle, look like they're not going to be the same team next year. So the only 2 teams realistically that have made any movement in this transfer window and that look like that we're going to play once a week is us and Chelsea.
Yes.
We
Correct.
expect Liverpool, United, City, and Arsenal to relatively be the same. So realistically, yeah, we should be aiming for top 6. Like standard.
I even if I'm being brutally honest, I generally think people should keep an eye out on United. I think United are going to be in for a shock.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be in for a shock. I don't know where they'll finish, but I think they'll be in for a shock.
In a good way or bad
Say that
way?
again.
In a good way or a bad
Struggle,
way?
I think he means.
I think in a bad way. If I'm being brutally honest, I don't think they'll fall completely off a cliff. No, I don't think what happened to us will happen to United. But I think they'll get pulled into a race for top 4, top 5, whatever the last position is. I think they'll get pulled into that. And like, I don't know if we haven't seen the United that we grew up with, but I don't think they're capable of being in a rat race for that 5th spot and winning it while having Europe. I really don't. Like, we've had the biggest unfortunate circumstance over the last 2 seasons where we finished 17th in one season where the fans generally believe we wouldn't have gone down had we not been in Europe, or we wouldn't have been that low had we not been in Europe. But I'm like, you can't say that. We were losing. If you go to the season prior to that, where we finished 5th, we were losing games at an insane clip towards the back end of that season. So we kind of like took that record into the new season, but we didn't think of it like, oh, we just thought, yeah, we've gone through the season, we're in Europe, blah, blah, blah. And what papered over that for most fans is that we won the cup. But I've always said to people, I've never understood how this is football. This is not basketball, by the way. And this is not an insult to the Americans, even though, they should never host the World Cup ever again. But in football, you should never in your life can off the league for the sake of a trophy. Never. Like, especially when you're meant to be considered a big club. So when the information came out that, yeah, we didn't focus on the league, we focused on, and we got Europe, I'm like, well, you've just introduced loser mentality to my club. I've never seen Spurs lose 22 games in a league season. Never. Not once. And once that happened, well, what do you think is going to happen into the next season? Or once we go 1-0 down, how do you think the players are going to react? Yeah, it's another loss. How do you think the fans are going to react? Oh, well, 1-0 down, yeah, we're definitely going to lose. Switch off Sky, switch off BT, switch it all off. We're going to lose. And lo and behold, we literally saw, we had 38 points. We were struggling to get to 40 last season. So this season, we're quite fortunate in the sense that we were in a position where United were last season. We have 1 game a week. We have a far more capable or competent, as far as I'm concerned, manager who's galvanized the players a little bit more, turned some players that were probably, their heads were already out the door, to like remain and then be like, all right, yeah, cool, let's go again, let's like really build ourselves back up. And players like Spence and Porro have gone to the World Cup, had a fantastic World Cup. They're coming back with newfound confidence. I generally look at it and I'm like, I don't think 6 is unrealistic. Now,
Okay.
can we get to like 5th, 4th, Champions League place? I think there's a certain mentality to get there, and I'm not sure if we have that right now.
So what's minimum, Scott? What's minimum? Say if we sign a couple of handy forwards, forward players, good output. What's the minimum expectation then? And what would disappoint you if that happened?
What if it didn't happen?
Yeah, say if we didn't come top 6, like you said, this is the expectation. 1 game a week, things are on the up. What is the minimum expectation then? Because a lot of fans are expecting, with Spurs spending this level of money, that they must make the top 5, even top 4.
I think making top 4 it's just too big of a jump, and I don't want to get into that whole clickbait, talk sport nonsense that flipping Jamie O'Hara does. What a representation we have.
But it's right here.
But for me, it would be no. I think 6 is realistic. I think I'll be disappointed if it's anything lower than 8. Okay. If you're being brutally honest, because it's a big jump. We're talking 17th here.
No, I agree with you, man. I agree with you.
We're talking a team that's got 42 points.
I ain't got no prediction on next season. I've got no prediction because I just see this team. They've been battered the last 2 seasons. We've got to build the club up. We've got to build things up again. It's these players have got. There's so many new players coming into the team, right? We don't know how it's all going to go. Yes, we've got 1 game a week. I get that, but I'm not setting myself up for predicting that Spurs must finish in the Champions League spot. No. If I can see a team progressing on the pitch, improving week in, week out, we can see something coming together. And by all means, if it comes near the end of the season and we're competing for Europe, then that's it. We deserve it.
That's great. Yeah, I agree. Like I'll say 8th will probably be the minimum. I don't want to finish 8th, but I'll accept 8th and like a deep cup run. But we have to get to the FA Cup final for me to be happy.
All I'd say, boys, on this, I just don't think Spurs have spent the money they've spent to come finish 8th, right?
I agree.
I'm looking at this season objectively coming up, right? You've seen, obviously, Arsenal got Arteta there. I hate to say this, boys, and it pains me sad as a Tottenham fan. I think Arsenal are going to walk the league coming up, and that really hurts me to say that. I look at the teams in transition. I think Man City without a Rodri, I don't think it's going to be easy for them just to really mount a title challenge next season. I look at Liverpool under Iraola. Iraola's going to find a new level of pressure at Liverpool. It's all right losing 4 games in a row at Bournemouth and no one really saying anything. You lose 4 games at Liverpool, you're under massive, massive pressure. Chelsea, Alonso being there, again, first season for him. He's got to get his feet under the table. That's going to take some time. Man United under Carrick, it's his first full season. They've got Europe to contend with. So for them, it's going to be an interesting way how they manage the season. You then come to us with De Zerbi, and De Zerbi's already gone through those 7 games of last season. So a number of players already know what the standards are. He's made it very, very clear that any player that doesn't want to play for Tottenham, get out. We don't want you here. So I think that he is already ingraining and setting the standards in his mind. And you heard what Fernandes said in his intro or his interview to Spurs official. And look, of course, they're going to butter it up to an in-house club TV. They always do, Tottenham players, when they sign. He said we're aiming for the first position. Now, I don't think we're aiming for the title, but all I'm saying is that I think they're looking at next season and they're looking at it thinking there's a real opportunity. And I agree, I think what Scott said, I think you said it as well, Dan. I think it's very hard to go from 17th, right, back to back and then be parachuted straight back into the top 4, the top 5. However, having said that, I think given the teams that are in the top echelons of the league and that are in transition, I think there's a real opportunity. And it goes also back to what I said in the earlier part of the show, that a lot of the teams that we're hoping Spurs are going to be around have got players that are coming back from the World Cup, that are going to come late back into the squad. So by September, by October, where teams are still trying to figure out getting their best players back, Spurs would have hopefully already had 6 to 7, 8 games where a lot of their core fundamental players would have already been in place. So I see this upcoming season as a real good opportunity for Tottenham to, with all due respect, accelerate their way back into a top 6 finish. That's not me sitting there saying they should be top 6 or they should be top 4 or they should be competing for the league. But like a lot of the comments that are saying in the live broadcast here, it's 1 game a week. It's a massive, massive advantage for the football club. And I think that, honestly, for this upcoming season, the way De Zerbi is looking at it, I think Spurs have got a real good opportunity. Now, I'll caveat that and say, if we go into the season with the current forward line we've got, I've still got the same concerns that I've got for the past 2 seasons. I think a lot of it will depend for me. going into Brentford, what we have done in terms of the forwards, if we've got a forward over the line. But I really think this upcoming season, the way the board have looked at it, and I'm still sceptical about this version of ENIC. I have to say that, look, I've not been someone that's been massively pushing for ENIC to go in the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years. There's been a lot more prominent voices on the Spurs community scene that have made it very clear where they stand on ENIC. But I think the last 12, 18 months and the way the club has been mishandled and mismanaged has been absolutely unacceptable. And I was ready for ENIC to go in the summer. And look, I still am really on the fence about them. And if you said to me right now, if another opportunity came about where someone else came in, I still might take it. But they have spent serious money this summer. But they're only spending the money that, in reality, had Tottenham got relegated, it would have cost them 5, 6 times over what they have spent to date. And I'll make that clear. In terms of what they're getting through player sales, at the moment, they're going to probably break even. So really, how much money have they truly spent in terms of the squad at the moment? I think what it will come down to is obviously what we do in the forward area. But I think the way the board are looking at it is they're thinking with a lot of the clubs that are in transition this upcoming season, they see it as a real opportunity to get themselves back into a top 6 reckoning place.
Ricky, mate, they haven't said, have they? This is the thing here. They've talked a lot, but they haven't actually set the goal.
They won't, though, Dan. I don't think they will. I don't think they will, Dan. I think all the messaging, Dan, will come through De Zerbi. You watch. Okay. I guarantee you, in the first press conference, they're going to ask him. All the journalists are going to ask De Zerbi, "What's your intentions?" And I imagine De Zerbi is going to say, if he's happy with the window, that is, because again, it's Tottenham and it could all change before the Brentford game. I imagine pre-Brentford, they'll ask De Zerbi, what is the ambition for the season? And I would imagine De Zerbi, based on the window that we've had, if we come to the Brentford game and we've got a couple of forwards in, I honestly think he'll sit there and say the objective is for this club that it has to be minimum in the Champions League. That's what I imagine he will say. I don't think he will say he's got to win the league because he'll be putting himself under massive, massive pressure. And I think, look, I do think De Zerbi will be under a bit of pressure now. I think unlike some that have suggested it on other Spurs channels, I think De Zerbi will be under a bit of pressure. I mean, they've spent, 237 million so far this summer. They're going to probably end up doing over 300 million if we do go and get a forward or two. Therefore, you can't tell me that De Zerbi won't be under any pressure whatsoever. I think we will be under pressure based on the amount of money that would have been spent on him, because he would have been spent more than any other Spurs manager in the most recent modern history. And where many called for Pochettino to have the money, Mourinho to have the money, Conte to have the money, unlike them, they've actually given De Zerbi the money. They actually have backed De Zerbi. So I think he will be under a bit of pressure. And I'll be amazed if he doesn't say come that first press conference. Again, if I've got a couple of forwards in, I think the ambition he'll have to say will be minimum a Champions League place. I think he will have to say that. I think despite finishing back-to-back 17th, if we've plunged 300 million into the squad, I don't think he can sit there and say the ambition is top 8.
So what happens if he doesn't make them Champions League spots?
Well, I don't know if you agree, Dan. I think a lot of it for me is the way Tottenham play their football, the brand that we play next season. I think the boys were touching upon it. If we can say at the end of the following season with De Zerbi, we're going in the right direction, we're liking the brand of football, we can see us progressing, developing as a team, then all being well, they see him as the man for the future. I think it all comes down to really how far we are away from a lot of those other clubs and how much we are enjoying the football, and also how much De Zerbi's enjoying being at Tottenham. Because with all due respect to De Zerbi, how long was he at Brighton for? I think just over 24 months, maybe not even that.
Yeah.
I think the key for De Zerbi is that unlike Brighton, Tottenham have given him a real focal point in terms of the recruitment this summer. And obviously we've held off appointing a director of football because they want to make sure it fits in with what De Zerbi wants. So I think it's all going to really come down to how much control De Zerbi will get, how much influence he'll get really across the next few summers. And look, it's no disrespect to De Zerbi. I like Roberto De Zerbi. I think if De Zerbi was not at Tottenham, we would have been relegated. He deserves a statue for keeping us up. I think some were quite sceptical about when he came in. They weren't too sure. But it's different. When you're having a manager tell you you're going to win games and not lose games, look at the difference in terms of the squad morale. Look at how everybody's feeling. But I can't sit here and tell you for sure, Dan, De Zerbi will be in next season because it's Tottenham.
Yeah, look, De Zerbi is the only guy I trust at the club right now.
Agree.
He's the only guy I trust because I like De Zerbi. I really do like him. He's got a lot to prove. He hasn't really won anything in his career. One trophy, I think. He's got a lot to prove, but what a massive opportunity it is for him. He's basically given a massive transfer kitty to go and spend and get the players that he's wanted so far. He's like all these players have come in, he's backed them all, right? He's determined to get 2 forwards in, and they're going to be so key in this if we're going to finish in the Champions League.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to have to produce.
Yep.
And if De Zerbi is signing them off, then again, that's more pressure on him because he's saying, okay, these 2 players are going to give me what I need in this team.
Yep.
So, it's going to be exciting, isn't it?
I think it's going to be exciting. I mean, like Tottenham will all be twists and turns. I do imagine throughout the season, we may get a few Conte moments where, obviously, I think with that game at Burnley, didn't we, where it felt like Conte was quitting on the spot. I don't know if we'll get it with De Zerbi to some degree, because obviously by the time, the new season starts, a lot of the players that have come in are his players, aren't they, really? And I think, Bergvall probably likes to go. Sarr probably likes to go as well. There'll be, obviously, the likes of Scarlett that will leave. There'll be Solomon that will go as well. Obviously, Ashley Phillips is going to go. Kota Sakai will probably go out on loan. So you're looking at, 11, 12 players out the door. 9 players potentially coming in if we do go and get a couple of forwards in. So, look, there is no excuses next season if he gets those players, because there's been a lot of Spurs managers before him that have probably deserved players that haven't got them. I'll even go back to saying if Harry Kane was here, if Harry Kane was here during this time, I'm not sure Harry would have looked elsewhere if they were doing what they're doing now. And that's the great shame about it, that we didn't really build the team around Sonny and Kane. I mean, isn't it ironic? We've been saying this on Last Word of Spurs in the last couple of months, that the 2 positions now that Tottenham are looking to fill are the 2 positions that Kane and Sonny held for so many years. And if you put Kane and Sonny into this team, people might laugh at me. I generally think we are maybe competing for something higher in the league. I really do think if you put Kane and Sonny into this team and look at Kane's form at the moment, and to be fair, Sonny, when Sonny was at his best, we will be a formidable team. But look, Tottenham won't win games with just 11 players. It will also be based on the squad that we are going to put together. So I still think there's a lot of work to do to the squad in general to also bring it up to standard. I really think that's a key as well. And I have to say this, I know, Marlon, I think you feel the same as me as well. I like Kinski, and I think the redemption arc at last season was unbelievable. However, I still have got massive concern with Kinski over his positioning. I look back at the games that he had in the Carabao Cup, the games that we exited in terms of the FA Cup as well with Kinski. He deserves his opportunity, but I still say this, that come towards the end of the summer transfer window, if an opportunity comes up where a better goalkeeper comes available, and I have had a few whispers that Tottenham aren't yet finished in the goalkeeper market, I think Tottenham could still look to improve in the goalkeeping area. That's not me saying I don't like Kinski. I still just can't get out of my mind about some of the worries I've got with Kinski.
Look, I don't. It's not been perfect window for me. I've got to be honest here. Robertson, I really don't know with him. Yeah, I get the reason, experience, good professional and all that, but we needed a better left back. Doggy's inconsistent, he's always injured. Robertson is in a decline, so that one I've got question marks over. I hope I'm wrong, right? I hope it works out that he gives us something. Dubravka coming in, don't get it at all. There's so many better keepers out there. Younger age should have come in and been the second keeper, or the goalie to challenge Kinski. And the Ben Davies signing, I know it's kind of small at the thing, but I just don't understand. Signing for another year, what's the point? He's just wasting the squad place.
It's Tottenham, isn't it?
Being picky, isn't it? That's being picky. People say, Daniel, being picky.
I'm sure he's
we
being
spent
picky.
200 million. We spent
I can
200
understand
million.
it, because honestly, I think if Ben Davies was at any other top 6 club, would Arsenal, would Liverpool, would Man City, would Chelsea, would they be renewing his contract? I'm not too sure.
No, they wouldn't.
I think it's also about, again, you might not agree with me on this. I think it's just about maybe just keeping some kind of standards at the club. All I would say is that Davis is the very last player at that club to remember what our standards were. He was there under the Pochettino era where this club was competing for a title. So Ben Davis knows what a good Tottenham standard looks like. And I hope that he's there kind of instilling that into some of the younger players that are in the squad, because I think it was brought up earlier in the show. Someone like Romero, as good as Romero was on his day, Romero has been a big problem for Tottenham behind the scenes in terms of trying to set the culture, set the attitude. And when you've got young players in the squad, like your Odebears, like your Tells, and you've got someone like Romero around, I just don't think he's been a positive influence in that dressing room. And that's regardless of whether you like Thomas Frank or dislike Thomas Frank. There were times in his reign at the earlier periods where I felt quite sorry for Frank, because I felt he must have realised early on that giving Romero the captaincy was probably one of the worst mistakes he ever made during his time at Tottenham. You know, from what you heard, this player's been consistently late to training. That culture sets in. And unfortunately, that was one of the biggest ones, I think, during Frank's reign, that he couldn't really get a grip on the dressing room. And that's why you saw the actions of Mickey and Jed after the game, obviously at home to Chelsea. But look, I know I'm covering old ground here. I just think the most important thing is that De Zerbi's through the door. He understands what the standards are. He seems to understand how big this football club is. And I know many will look at that and remember the fact that I think after the Everton game on the final day, kind of the camera panned to him at the South Stand. He kind of in that moment seemed to think, God, this is like a massive, massive football club. And if I get this right, this could be absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a scene. Yeah.
Can I just say something quickly? I know because it's getting on to like, you know, wee hours of the morning. But in terms of the Robinson and the Bravko one, for me, I think Robinson was definitely brought in more for the experience and somebody to kind of like more guide our current left back or left backs in Udogie and Sousa, who I think is going to go out on loan anyway. And then obviously we have the option of Spence playing left back. I don't really want him there. I want him more challenging on the right hand side, but that's my own personal opinion. But I think with the Bravka has more been brought in more to be like a kind of like, again, with what Robinson is on the left hand side, an experienced keeper that can kind of guide and aid Kinski in his journey. Because if we went and bought a younger keeper, let's say because we were linked with apparently to or looking at Trafford early on in the window. If we had brought in Trafford, like essentially, who's getting the minutes? Because essentially you're almost saying, all right, cool, you know, fine, you did well for us towards the back end of the season, but we're not really going to reward you. We don't trust you, kind of thing. And that's how a keeper kind of lose confidence very quickly. I think De Zerbi's done the right thing in backing him because he put him in. You know, like flipping Vicario was fit. He could have played the last few games, but he still stuck with Kinski. And I think De Zerbi's done the right thing in terms of giving him the option to be the number one keeper. And if you're going to give him the reins of being number one, then you have to put experience around him so that, you know, like he's going into these games not feeling like he's, how should I put it, on an island by himself, you know, similar to like City. City had, I mean, Scott Carson's been on their books for like 15 years. He probably had two appearances, but you know he's there for experience. He's there to kind of like talk to the young goalkeepers and kind of guide them in their journey of being, you know, a keeper for a top club. So I'm not really against the Bravka one. I can understand why fans would have wanted another younger goalkeeper, say probably Trafford, because he's the talk of the town. But I do feel the decision on bringing in Dubravka and Robertson, not my choices, but I do understand the decision in terms of the experience they both bring to the club.
If I can just say, to follow back on Scott's point there, I think the reason why they're maybe looking at Dubravka is if Kinski does have a wobble, you could bring Dubravka in as a bit of a steady pair of hands. I think he played every one but a couple of games for Burnley last season. And I still think I keep going back to this with the goalkeeping situation. This is not me getting on to Kinski because I don't like Kinski. This is me just kind of pointing out my concerns with Kinski, that I still think Tottenham, I know Trafford's now gone elsewhere. I still think that the goalkeeping market come the final few weeks of the season, that if there's an option now, I am still not 1 billion% sure Kinski will be number one. That's not me saying I don't like Kinski. That's just me saying that there are better options out there. I think me and Mon have been quite consistent with this, haven't we? That there are better options out there. We have got our concerns over positions. And look, Tottenham could still end up having quite a bit of money to play with if they do move the likes of Bergvall on, that they're looking at minimum now. We're hearing 60 million, which is just, I think, an amount you can't turn down for a player. You know, and I think De Zerbi made it very clear, actually, in his press conference after the game against Auckland, that any player that doesn't want to be here, you know, there's the door, which I think is a clear indication that I think someone like Bergvall, they're going to take the money. Same as Vuskovic, you're going to look to take the money. So I think we're going to be in for another crazy last few months and a few weeks of the window. I think the Romero story is an interesting one, because I was quite convinced they wouldn't even get a fee for Romero of any real great credence. But if they're in a situation where, I know you guys have just put it up there, Ash, you know, if they're going to get an obligation to buy for Romero at 40 million euros, it's more than what I expected. But at the same time, you know, you're seeing such an inflation in the market we're probably selling Romero on the cheap, aren't we? But it's just a case of how much damage does he do actually keeping him around our dressing room come the Brentford game when he returns? I mean, the thing is, we're going to strip him of the captaincy. How does that go down with Romero? Is he someone that will just go and play with the kids until he gets a move for deadline day? I just don't know what that looks like. And I think De Zerbi's also got too much respect for Romero. It's a shame because I think had De Zerbi come in 3 managers ago, I could see him and Romero actually striking up quite a good friendship and being someone that you could want to play for him. But it just feels like, I don't know if you guys agree, you could get your take on it. I think the Romero one is more a ball choice than a De Zerbi choice in terms of them saying, look, we're getting rid of this guy. We're going to bring you Van Hecker in, someone that you've worked with before, and they've got Senesi there. But it feels like it's the ball that are the ones that are deciding Romero's future probably more than De Zerbi. I don't know whether you guys agree on that.
I don't know. Like, I think it's just, I think Romero's course has literally just run. I think that's what it is for me. And he's done his years. He's one of the oldest players in the squad, other than Ben Davies. He's been there for a long time.
Do you think, Ash, on that point, do you think, just let you answer it, do you think De Zerbi would want to let him go?
Only because he's got his guy in Van Heck. Van Heck plays the same side as Romero. So for me, someone that plays out from the back and also releases the ball quite quick. I know De Zerbi's big on that. He wants the balls to come out fast. He doesn't want it to slow down the tempo. Well, there's time to slow down the tempo. There's time to speed it up. But Van Hecker is obviously a leader at the back for the Netherlands. Well respected. He was player of the season at Brighton as well. And he calls De Zerbi dad. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of want a player that calls man dad and has got that type of respect in the team. He's going to do what you say. And then also, it's going to be easier to embed the tactics because if you've got someone that's a lieutenant in there already, he knows the system inside out. I saw the way that Van Hecker played against us when he was starting attacks. Maybe not so much off the ball defending, but on the ball, the way he was punching the ball through the lines, I just said De Zerbi will want some of that. I could just see it straight away. De Zerbi, and even after the game, he went straight up to De Zerbi. Them two had a little convo. I saw that like on the pitch. So I think in terms of like getting that philosophy, getting the principles across to the players, and you need players that are going to bark and talk. I'm not sure if Romero barks or talks or communicates to those players or even the team as much as a Van Hecker will do when he was at Brighton. Now coming into the Spurs team, I think that he's big on talking. He's big on communicating. I know it's not a popular view, but when it was the lockdown, people kept screaming about Ben Davies, how much he talked. Like, he's a big talker in the game. Him, Eric Dyer, those guys like to yap a lot. So Van Hecker coming in, talking, telling the backline where to be, when to step up, passing through the lines, being aggressive, being brave. That's something that De Zerbi wants in his player. And he wants that to be, if you've got that from the back, leading from the back, that's going to just marinate all the way through the team, in my opinion. So I do think that was a De Zerbi signing. And if you're going to lose one capo, you get another capo in Van Hecker, in my opinion. So it's captain for captain. And there can only be, you don't want too many cowboys. You don't want too many chefs in the kitchen. Sorry. So too many cowboys, not enough Indians, vice versa. That's how the saying goes. I just think, I think he really is going to be able to transfer the tactics, what De Zerbi wants on the pitch, and he's going to be the one that pushes it forwards, in my opinion. So, that's what it is. Romero, obviously, like, he was, I think, other than, who else was there for a long time? I'm trying to think. Bentancur was there for a long time, but Romero was there before Bentancur. I think Bentancur will go. And it's interesting because that rumor came out, Bentancur. And I was like, right, is Bergwell still going? Because people were trying to say, Bergwell over Bentancur. And I was like, nah. If Bentancur's going, then Bergwell's got to go as well. Then you can't have one not going and the other staying. Like, both of them have their utilities. Bentancur played amazing for us in that final third of the season. But look, sacrifices have to be made. So, and the midfield area is the biggest area, in my opinion. Some people might say stick him around, keep him around. Because he's not bad, but in terms of legs and depth, I wouldn't be mad at it. Because I remember we got rid of Højbjerg, and he gave us that kind of security blanket, him and Skip. When they came on, they kind of saw out the games. I wouldn't mind that with a Bentancur, innit? If we were leading 1-0 or 2-1, and he came on and he kind of just help, recycle the ball, slow it down a bit. I don't mind Bentancur being there, but if the manager says, look, Bentancur's got to go, and so is Bergvall, then like, who am I?
Ash, De Zerbi's come out and said that Bentancur's crucial. Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Well, though, Dan, hasn't he? So I just wonder, because I think George was saying it last night on Last One on Spurs. He was saying that would he come out and say anything less? Because if he does not come out and say that, is he kind of doing down their price tag in terms of selling them? Do you think Dan, both of them will stay now then? De Zerbi saying that.
Look, to be honest, but Bentancur, unless we're going to upgrade him, we might as well keep him for next season. We need another midfielder. I think
you can't get rid of everyone. You can't get rid of everyone.
No, we can't. And so, for me, Sarr is a priority to leave the club. Yeah. Bergvall, if we're not going to sell him, if we're not going to get the money for him, loan him, because there's not going to be enough games for him to play next season, and he needs to play. He needs to play. So I would say give Bergvall a 2-year loan to an attacking Premier League team, someone who plays a similar type of football, see how he gets on, and then judge him when he comes back, if the club are not going to sell him for the price they want. He needs to go, Bergvall. There's no room for him. I can't see him playing at all unless we get serious injuries.
The problem is, though, Dan, they won't. I don't think Bergvall's camp are going to accept the loan. That's the problem. I think Bergvall's camp are saying they want a permanent move, and I think it's similar to the Vuskovic one. Bergvall's played, around 70, 80 games in the last couple of seasons. So it's very hard to say a player, although I think Marlon said it about the homegrown issues that we've got and the club train issues that we've got. It's very hard to tell a player like Bergvall after playing 70, 80 games and won Player of the Year and Supporters Player of the Year in the first season. I know that season we were awful apart from winning the, obviously, Europa League. It's very hard to tell a player like that, we're going to put you on loan for a year. The kid's thinking, well, on a second, I just played at the World Cup for Sweden. I rubbed shoulders with some of the best players in the world. Now you want to put me on loan. I mean, he obviously feels put out by the fact we brought Tonali and Fernandes in, but that's not down to him. That's down to the club looking to progress and trying to move it forward. And to be fair with Bergvall, I think there is a player in there, and we aren't going to know, as I keep on saying this with Bergvall, we are not going to know how much that deal might haunt us, probably for another 12, 18 months when that kid will probably be of a higher ceiling. But right now, it's about the now for Tottenham. So therefore, taking 60 million now will make sense if we reinvest it wisely. I also think, like you said there, Dan, I just don't think we can get rid of all the squad players and then just kind of rely on kids on the bench, because we have still got one game a week, and we can't just forget our injury record in the last 3 seasons. Look at the amount of injuries we've got. So if we start sanctioning Sarr to go, Sarr to go and Bentancur to go, well, who's coming to replace Tonali if he gets injured, or Fernandes if he gets injured? You're back down to kids again.
Archie Gray.
Well, I mean, Archie can't play. I know Lubo thinks he can play everywhere, bless his heart. He can't play everywhere, Archie. And I think someone made the point earlier. Gray is probably going to end up starting the season for Tottenham at right back or left back because of players that are at the World Cup. So I think Archie will be a really important player for Tottenham in terms of that versatility perspective. But at the same time, I think Stan Ryan thinks very, very clearly from De Zerbi, from what he's saying. He sees Gray well ahead. I think all to be leaving the club. I think they look at Gray and think this guy is a utility player that will probably know more in a year or two time in terms of how good he will be for Tottenham. I don't see Gray going anywhere. I think it will be Bergvall to go. It'll be one of, I think, Bentancur or Sarr to leave. I just don't see both going, because suddenly you're absolutely decimating in the whole squad aspect of it all. I think Jed will also stay now. I think Jed has somehow, I don't know if you boys have seen this in the last few weeks, Jed has come out of the World Cup with almost like a fan club. And I'm not being funny, like being a Tottenham fan. I mean, I don't know about you guys in terms of fans that I know from friends and family. The only people that I know support Tottenham is it's when being passed through the family. I don't know many kids that are out there sitting there saying, I want to be a Tottenham fan. I'm putting my boys for it just because I'm a Tottenham fan. But I don't know many people out there that actually choose to be a Tottenham fan. I think it's more of a kind of family generational thing. And I think they'll love the fact with Jed that he seems to have got himself a bit of a fan club. I'm not saying they're going to keep him for that reason, but again,
commercial. I hear it.
Commercial. Same with, I know disrespect to Sonny, because Sonny was a legend at the club and was a very good footballer. But clearly, Ash, on that point, you said about commercial there. The Kota Sakai project just doesn't work. That's it. It doesn't work for Kota.
You see, like Jed Spence and Xavi, they're like the face of the club sometimes. I know Xavi definitely is, but 100%. I remember one time it was Super Bowl and them two were like,
for the young kids, Ash. Is that what you're saying? The young kids, yeah? Is that what you mean? The younger generation fan, yeah.
the young flex. So like people are gonna want to see them, that those kind of guys that are either like me or they represent me or they just the new age, or fans just get excited about that type of stuff.
It's a bit.
And
They've got a bit of
even
an
was a
aura,
massive-
hasn't they? As well, they've got a bit of an aura Ash as well. These players, they've got a bit of an aura
Yeah.
about them.
Even there was a big movement for Bergvall at one point. I'm not gonna lie. So people say, no, I'm being serious. Some people were like, get rid of Maddison, keep Bergvall, and there was like a massive. I think there was like a gay community where they were like, they like Archie Gray and Bergvall. They had that kind of boy look, like boy band, and girls were going crazy for them as well because they had like the young boy look, and all of a sudden you're just getting different type of fans, people buying different merchandise. I know we're here for the football, but obviously, you know, it is what it is, man. Like, what can I say?
Keep them for the kids.
I think Javi's one of those players that a lot of kids will look up to and inspire themselves on him because he's got almost that kind of pure footballer look, right? He's got the slick hair. Obviously he looks the part, you know. Again, boys, you know, I'm not going to shed too much of a tear of the players we're going to let go in here. You know, we as I keep on saying, we finished back-to-back 17th, so I'm not going to shed too much of a tear if we're going to lose a Gray or a Bergvall or a Bentancur or a Sarr. You know, these players, with all due respect to them, none of them have been well beaters during their time at Tottenham. You know, I had a lot more affection for the Pochettino squad back in the day that was consistently over a 2 to 3 year period challenging for a title. You know, that was a squad that I would have been upset to leave. But, you know, also the biggest problem Tottenham had back then is that they had a failure in knowing when to sell was right. It feels now Tottenham are prepared to sell when maybe the time is right, and maybe the time is right for Bergvall. Maybe the time is right, even though I like him and he seems to have had a good World Cup. I kind of said for me that I would have been open to an offer for Spence, only because I still see Spence as being somebody that is more of a squad player. I don't think I look at Spence and think he's going to start every week. I think it's clear that Porro's going to start on the right-hand side. And I think on the left-hand side, I do not think Robertson is signed to Tottenham to come and play 10 games. I don't see he would have left Liverpool to do that. So I think he sees himself sharing that role with a doggy who De Zerbi has spoken up, and therefore Jed is going to have to probably pay second fiddle to either Porro at right back or to Destiny and to Robertson at left back. And I think Spence might look at it and think, well, I've just come off the back of a really good end to the World Cup. I might want to play first team football. So I just wonder again with Spence, how invested, I know he loves Tottenham. It will probably come down to whether really with Spence, does he see himself going to another club and having more ambition elsewhere? I think that's what...
If there's an offer that comes in, which is plus 60 plus million, then the club can consider it. But then again, we need to go and get a right back. And that's the situation.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Dan. He needs replacing. If we're going to sell Spence, we'll need replacing. But I think with Spence, I think he loves Tottenham. I think his family love Tottenham. That's also key for Spence. I think his family have really bought into Tottenham. I think you boys have seen that as well. Like his mum's a mad Tottenham fan. His sister does a lot with the content with Tottenham as well. So I just wonder for someone like Spence, I do not see Jed Spence sitting there thinking, I want to go to Everton. I think he probably sees that as a backward step. And unless it's a Liverpool, who again, maybe we'll see Liverpool maybe come in from, I don't know, or a Man United, does Spence just think, you know what, I'll just stay and fight for my place? It's going to be interesting. And
it's a homegrown issue as well. We need homegrown players. Yeah.
And it's still a problem with boys. If we let, I think, Marlon, you raised it on a previous show. If we let Bergvall go, that is a problem that we're going to have to sort in 12 months' time, the homegrown issues.
Yeah, so if Bergvall leaves, he doesn't qualify next year. He has to stay for a season.
Yeah.
Him and Gray qualify next year. You've obviously got Mikey Moore, you've got Gray, you've got Austin, but that's it. And anyone else who's a youth team player. But it means that youth team player then can't go out on loan during that season. You have to keep them in the squad, which, again, do you really want to do?
Basically, if we've got one less club trained player, we can only register how many?
24.
24.
So if you
go on.
So if you've got the full maximum, you get your 25-man squad, and then you -1 for each one you don't have.
So instead of having 25 players, you have 24.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Is that what we're crying about? Really? Was that the whole hoo-ha in the whole Spurs community about this whole club train bullshit?
No. But Ash, the problem is we had an issue this year.
Yeah.
How many players did we have injured? Once we get into 2
Yeah.
games a week, this is the problem.
Yeah,
Arsenal,
no, I get that.
Arsenal had 24 last year, so they
And
couldn't
they got to the
register
final.
Gabriel Jesus.
And
Yeah,
they got
but they had, but they
and
had
they won the
24.
league.
Yeah,
It's more
But-
of Europe, Ash. It's more.
yeah,
for,
but
it's more for
but
next
if we
year
get
Europe. It's
through,
more for Europe.
you're saying, do we care? But last year we could have done with a full amount of first team players in the squad. Otherwise, we got stuck in the situation that we did.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
What, Champions League? We're talking
Yeah.
about Champions League.
Yeah,
Are we going
we
to
got-
win Champions League?
Huh?
Are we going to win Champions League?
Yeah, but you still ended up bringing up more. We still ended up with more injuries because of the situation we're in. Because you got to counteract the league and the Champions League. It was 2 big competitions.
So what are we
And
saying?
we got injured.
All right, cool. All right, let's go with that then. So what are we saying?
Yeah.
Keep Bergvall. Is that what we're doing? Is that what we're saying?
So it's not even about keeping Bergvall.
Can we make our minds up? Like, can we like?
Sell Bergvall and bring Alex
I'm not
Scott.
saying sell Bergvall. We get rid of him. But then
I'm
maybe
not-
Ash, the problem you
No,
have is when you get into next year and you want to have a 25-man squad and you want 25 players who are going to be playing Champions League, you ain't going to be able to give them that. You get to
that's
the
what I'm
point where
asking. Are we keeping Bergvall?
yeah, but then you're going to get into a point next year where the players we all want to bring in, there's going to be a point which we're struggling with now, where we're 17. You can only have 17 overseas players. You're going to get the same problem next year where you're buying players and half of them you can't even offer them Champions League because your squad is filled out. So
Am I right in saying, Miles? Doesn't Krupi count though as a potential home? Where did I see something about Krupi being counted as either a club trained or a homegrown option after?
no,
a
so
year?
he'll go onto the B. He'll go onto the B list. So if you're under 21, which is where Bergvall and Gray sit right now, they sit on the B list, which you don't have to register them. It's fine and absolutely with all this. But what it is, and as Spurs CC, we're not the only one who have this issue. Liverpool and Man City have this issue as well. But this is where the problem lies, I think, with a lot of us English clubs, where we need a lot of us need those bigger squads because of the demands of the Premier League and then going into a Champions League. And I think that's what the issue is.
That's the reason why I've seen a link now that Man United might be interested in the Bergvall. I know they were interested in him before we even bought him. They were looking at him.
But he won't class for club train for them. So it doesn't matter what if someone buys Bergvall, he'll just go in as a straight overseas. The only club train player that we have at the moment is on the books that's not a youth team player is Austin. He's the only one. So it's kind of, for us, it's being able to get into next year and not being able to, because we'd have to reduce the squad. And then all the players we've bought this year and all the good work we've kind of done, does it become undone because we can't offer them all Champions League football? Do we have to go? It just becomes a big headache.
Are we saying then we sell Bentancur and we keep Bergvall then? Is that what we're saying then?
I think from the way the rumours are, I think Bentancur's out the door, mate. So it doesn't really matter. I think Bergvall's gone too.
Just to answer Ash's question, because Ash said, "Oh, does it? How much does it really matter?" I mean, in this upcoming season, given a lot of clubs are in transition, and also by the fact Brighton, Sunderland, they've got European football as well. You know, I'm not putting knockers on this, Ash. We would have to have a really, really poor season next season to not at least get Conference League football. So what I'm trying to say is next season, one way or another, given the fact that I think Bridgie normally says it, I think 17 out of the last 20 years, Spurs have been in some form of European football. This will be a problem, like Marlon has said, next summer. So all we're going to be doing really is kicking this can down the road next summer. Because when we're saying, about keeping Bergvall or whatever and these kind of debates, this will be a problem for next season because we'd have to have a really bad season if we don't get into any form of Europe next season.
Okay, so what's the obvious solution? What's the obvious solution then? Because we could qualify for Europe. What is it? How do we solve it?
By Harry Kane back.
Because if Bergvall, what? Say again?
By Harry Kane back.
No, seriously, guys, what is the solution?
There is no solution.
There is no solution. The solution is
so you have less players in your squad. Is that
no?
what
No,
you're
the
saying?
solution is that the players you end up signing have to hit the ground running and have to be on point, and then we have to hopefully not get any injuries on top. There's your solution.
So what happens if we do? Then you're short squad-wise, number-wise. Is that it? Basically, is that?
We'll be in the same situation we were this year, where we were short player-wise, and then you end up having to play players in both. Like you won't be able to have rotators easily, which then means more damaging on the muscles and more players being out for the Premier League games, which then means if we build the squad properly, we're okay. The problem is, I think the reason why it's more of an issue for Spurs is because we haven't built a squad properly for the last how many seasons.
Yeah.
And that's what the problem is. If we end up building a proper squad, then it's not an issue, because we had the issue before when Harry Kane was here. We only had Austin, Kane, and whoever. So there have been, but Kane used to get us out of trouble.
So you can't buy in English players. That won't affect it. It has to be homegrown players.
It has to be someone that's come through the academy. So so we could buy Skip and Winks back for talking purposes.
So
Harry Kane classes as a club train.
Then they would say Spurs CC says it there. We're only talking about 2 squad players. Austin and Gray will count as a club train next season. They'll take 2
23. So 23. Yeah. So we need 2 at least minimum to be.
Selling Bergvall won't be the be all and end all.
Yeah,
Tottenham will not.
Are we like?
I'd rather sell. If I was going to go for the 2, I'd rather sell Gray.
Why?
Because because he's just him and Bergwell in the same boat. I don't see them as any.
Gray's meant to be the utility guy. You could play him.
I mean, that's what.
But then you go buy a squad that's better, where you're not using.
All right, check this now. Inshaw Woods, right, come from the academy, Brighton, boom.
Yeah.
Played as a number 10, but De Zerbi used him as a right back, similar to what Caicedo did. Caicedo was a right back, played him in the midfield. Archie Gray fits that profile. We saw him obviously playing a preseason friendly in the midfield, but can clearly play right back. So I just think logically, Bergvall likes to take a lot of touches of the ball. He likes to feel the game. He's more maverick. He wants to play the game at his pace. Whereas the micromanagement, you see it. You see De Zerbi standing on the pitch, do this, open your hips up, first touch, take it in this direction, Is Bergvall the right suit for Robert De Zerbi compared to what Archie Gray is my question.
I don't think both of them. I think both of them are not.
But he's already made it clear, Miles, just to back up what Ashley's saying there, he's already made it clear that he really likes Archie Gray because of his flexibility.
He can do, but Gray's then got to show this on the pitch.
Yeah, that's not saying obviously that it means Gray is a great right back or a great midfielder or a great left back or a great,
But you know my saying about Archie Gray. He's a jack of all trades, master of none.
But the thing is, like, it does appear that, back to what Ashley's saying now, Lupo won't let that happen.
Yeah, Lupo won't let that happen.
That's the comment of the night there. But back to what Ashley's saying there, he seems to think that is a really good trait for Archie Gray, and I think he couldn't have made it any more clearer in that press conference that he's just had. He's made it very, very clear. Bergvall, player doesn't really feel committed, wants to go, doesn't want players that don't want to be here. He seems to be liking the fact, like Ash said there, Archie Gray can play a number of positions. Marlon, you're right. He's not got a brilliance in one single position, but his ability to play multiple positions is what he likes, and that I think is the key.
Well, but it's like Ricky. Look, Hinshaw was one example, and I said again,
I think you're right on that example. I said
played the right back, right, similar to what Arsenal and their manager, I forgot their manager's name, but he played Partey as a right back, innit? Playing, and that's copying Robert De Zerbi. De Zerbi obviously Pep did it as well with the Wolves midfielder Nunes playing in central midfield. He put him as a right back. We know with Rico Lewis, right back into midfield. It's the same thing with Archie Gray. See Pascal Gross. Gross was moving around. Veltman, another example, right back that moved into the midfield. That is hundreds of examples where Robert De Zerbi.
I reckon he's going to remember Donnelly. Donnelly's the guy that he's going to do it with.
Hold on. Put that for 1 second. You'll remember that with Archie Gray, and I'm not here to defend Archie Gray, by the way. I'm not here to defend any player. Like, as far as I'm concerned, they all got me 17th. Yeah, that's where I stand. But with Archie Gray, you can say he's still developing. And the way his character is and his personality, he seems like more the type of guy that will listen. He's got the three generation fathers there. The father, the grandfather, the uncle. That man would be like, listen. And he listens like he will travel well. Whereas Bergvall, I know his mum's in his ear. No, you're the best. You should be playing. Why aren't you starting? Look how many games you played last season and the season before last under Ange. We need to make you a starter. So I think it's two different trajectories.
Yeah.
Characterized as different. And then even like as I was saying, in terms of football, in terms of touches, Gray releases a little bit easier, a bit quicker, a bit smoother. So like I said, I'm not here to defend Archie Gray, but logically looking at it, I'm just thinking, boom.
I think you're spot on, Ash. I think the way you see it there is the way De Zerbi sees it. I really, really do. I think he looks at someone like Gray. I don't think there's actually been any hate for Gray on this debate. I think it's more of a case of the fact that we haven't yet
It'll
seen.
always be me. It'll always be me.
I mean,
It's Marlon. It's always Marlon on Gray.
All right, all I'm gonna say is on Archie Gray, right? And what De Zerbi said. De Zerbi said the same things last season. Played him in one game. He never started again.
Yeah, but Mars, I think let's be honest about it. Last season was a very difficult situation we were all in, wasn't it? You know, I think had we been in a different situation, I think you would have seen Bergvall play games. I just think Ash said it there, spot on. There is Bergvall's camp in his ear saying to him, "You've just come back from a World Cup. You know, you've played 80 odd games for Tottenham. You need to be starting every week. And if he's not starting every week at Tottenham, his agents aren't stupid. If they sell Bergvall for 60 million, do you know how much the agency are going to make on that move? They're going to make an absolute fortune on it. You know, it's a massive payday for his agency. Absolutely massive payday. So his agency will be saying, let's get you the move. You know, if he goes to Forest, the amount of money they're going to make is going to be astronomical. I think with Gray, like Ash said there, he's at an age where he's still coachable. He can still, you know, really grow as a player.
So, but I don't.
He's not going to play. He's not going to play, Gray.
Yeah,
I don't. He's not going to play again. He's not going to play.
I don't
What,
see it.
you don't think, Dan? What you don't think? What,
10 minutes, 15 minutes. If there's serious injuries
across next season, you don't think so?
Yeah,
No,
I
he
don't
won't-
think
he
he'll
won't
get much
start.
game time. No Europe. There's no games to start him. You know, cup games. Some cup games when it's easy opposition, you might see him start.
You say that, but I think we're all in agreement here that for the first month of the season, Gray probably isn't at right back, isn't he?
Why?
Well, because we've got Porro that's been at the World Cup till very, very late. Jed's been at the World Cup till very, very late.
No, Ricky, he's got to. Porro's got to come back. He's got to be in that team starting. He's our World Cup winner.
No, I see what you're saying, Dan, but obviously, realistically, to the protocol, I'm not sure that will be the
Is
case.
there? Is there? I thought it's. If it's a protocol thing, that's. I don't know.
Yeah, I
So
think,
they come back to training the week before Brentford. That's when the minimum. Whether
Okay.
De Zerbi thinks they're
I
available or
don't
not.
think it's a guarantee. I just don't think it's a guarantee
Yeah.
that
But this
see
but
Gray.
this is the whole issue. Then becomes if we start seeing Jamie Donnelly playing in
I
that
just say I
middle,
can't do another year of Marlon last for the Spurs with this Gray hate.
mate. It's with me. It's off the ball situation. And again,
Marlon, you're right.
I
I've said it before. I think you're fair on Gray. I just think he's not there yet, but it doesn't mean I think.
But the thing is, I think the difference is there's not much age difference between him and Fernandez, but there's a big golfing difference.
Massive, absolutely massive.
And it's not like Fernandez has been at two clubs where they've been doing great. He's been relegated twice, but because Gray has been moved around and he's not really sticking to a position, and I've always said he's good on the ball. It's always he's off the ball, and I think that's where De Zerbi had his problem with him last year. The issue that I now have is that again next year, how much of Gray is we going to see in midfield?
But I think it goes back to the fact, like Ash said, he is coachable. My only thing about next season is how many of these players can you actually coach at once on a training ground? You've got Tell, you've got Odebear, you've got Gray. You can't have Bergvall as well. I mean, this is why I say there's got to be decisions made in terms of players going out because, you know, he's only got so much time on the training ground, De Zerbi, with a lot of these players to coach him. You know, he might be a miracle worker, but at the same time...
Yeah, he's a miracle worker.
Well,
I'll give him a week. There's a lot of time.
Look at Danny Welbeck at Brighton, right? Yeah. He'd fallen off, and look what he did. He rejuvenated his career. Could do the same to Solanke. I'm sure some fans think like that.
No, I think you're right. Dan. I think the problem with me is I've said this before so many times on Last One on Spurs with, you know, what I've said about Solanke and Marlon. I know you're feeling like a broken record, mate. I'm so sorry. I just think that sore throat situation we had.
You won't think of Solanke for Arsenal.
I just
he's not good enough, Ricky. Solanke, Richarlison, they're not good enough. I agree.
You know, when I heard going into that game under Tudor, the first game, Solanke might not be available due to a sore throat. I'm thinking
he ain't got it.
I can swear now because we're over the watershed, guys. I'm not going to get any. I don't think I'm going to do your stream any harm here. Get fucking relegated, and the guy might miss the game with a sore throat. I mean, the optics of it looked absolutely horrendous. You know, and I still can't help it. And someone mentioned about Kulu there. The problem with Kulu is we're not going to know, I don't think, until Kulu really is back on any sense of playing time, and it could be until October. You know, I don't know.
I don't feel like a new signing.
Can't rely on him. Can't hold your hopes on him.
I can't believe Marlon just pulled out the old Levy line.
Look, on that note, look, it's getting late, and I want to make sure you guys get off and do your thing before we start another whole new debate about whatever. But thank you guys for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. Thanks to Yor and Oren for earlier. Danilis, please let people know where they can find you. I will send you the link as well tomorrow at some point.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, Danilis. Yeah, come check me out. You know, I'm sure a lot of people in the chat know I am, and yeah, just go and then just give us a watch and come down. Thank you very much. Give us a sub. Yeah. Cheers. Thanks to Marlon, Ash, Orin for this invite, and big up Ricky as well. Nice time to meet you on stream.
You too, Dan.
And who else came on? It was Scott, but that's not his real name. That's a wrestler's name, isn't it?
Yo is his name.
Yo. Yeah. Nice to meet him too. Big up, chat. Big up. Thanks for your comments, and like and subscribe to these guys. Thank you very much.
Unless you've been living under a rock, you should all know where Ricky's from. But let them know what you've got coming up for the rest of the week, Rick.
Oh, bless you, mate. Well, firstly, going to say, just to go back what Dan said there, pleasure, mate, Dan, screen with you for the first time. Been great sharing the screen with you. And just to firstly say, boys, Marlon and Ash, I don't feel like I ever say it enough. I have to say thank you so much, guys, for all the time and the contribution and all the support you've given Last Word on Spurs, I think, up to the last 2-3 years. I know we always drive Ash crazy during transfer season, and I thought it was mental. Those first few months of June, I thought Ash will never pick up the phone to us again. We've given him so bad. I know it's got a bit quieter now, but we're going to come back into the season soon. We've got to bring Ash for the previews and then bring Miles for the post-match analysis. You've got Ash's kind of enthusiasm that we need for the preview shows, and then Marlon to do the analysis as well. So we're blessed to have you two in the Spurs community, man. You're amazing. You're superb. And again, listen, we can't thank you enough for all the support we get out there for Last Word on Spurs. But look, we've got a busy week as always come up on Last Word on Spurs. We've got obviously our post-match analysis show after the game against Sydney FC on Wednesday. We're hoping to have a journalist join us before the end of the week as well to kind of wrap up where we are in terms of the transfer window. And we start to then move towards getting ready for the start of another season, which I think is our approaching 9th season on Last Word on Spurs, which is just ridiculous, really. I feel like I'm definitely aging towards it. And I think Jason's already trying to start the preparations for our 10th year anniversary. So we'll be in touch with more on that, because I think we're going to have some kind of really exciting plan ahead of us, which is just mental, really. I can't believe it's been as long as that. And listen, I have to say again, a massive thanks to the community out there. You know, I say it all the time that without the guests that do the show, without the community are the ones that make it. You know, I think we always say that, right, guys? We're lucky to have so many amazing Spurs fans out there that enjoy what we do. And I'm just blessed and thankful for the support we get. So thank you to you boys for being part of the team. Couldn't do it without you both. You're amazing. And please can you make sure, if you're watching this live or on the playback, please go and subscribe to Ash and Marlon at Spurs Kings TV. You know, these guys do so much for the community. They do so much in terms of, we are Tottenham TV as well. I hope Ben and Simon will be saying that. The watch-alongs that they've been put through in the last couple of years, they've not been done. They've not had some easy ones to do. They've had some tough ones in there as well. Hopefully, can I just say for all of us boys going ahead now, hopefully the good times are around the corner, because we all are owed a very exciting season. We are all owed that. So let's hope we're going to get the 2 forwards that we need. Let's hope we're going to get a real good end into the window. And let's hope I'm going to be calling Ash every minute of every hour towards the end of August to talk about all the signings that are coming our way.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Big up, man. Big up. And my love for Archie Gray. I love him, really.
It's a love-hate thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I love-hate thing with Archie. Now, big up to everyone. Thanks to over 2,000 of you that were watching us tonight. It was a hell of a stream. Everyone in the chat, thank you for staying with us. If you did stay with us for nearly 2.5 hours, but big thank you. I'm back on Friday. Ash is back on Wednesday. You back Wednesday? Yeah, you're back Wednesday with Rivals. So make sure you tune into that. We had episode 1 last week, so that will start ramping up again as the season carries on. And Vinicius Jr. obviously being linked with them lot is going to be an interesting topic.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, me, Luke, and Manny are back on Friday as well to do the monthly review. So make sure you tune in for that at 9:30 as well, where we have a barrel of laughs and take the piss out of Lubo a little bit.
Poor Lubo. He always gets it, doesn't he?
Love him, really.
He was away for 2.5 weeks, bless him. But
Yeah,
it was funny.
him,
Like, he's such a great guy.
Yeah,
such a great guy. I mean, how is he going to cope if we sell Archie Gray? I mean, Marlon, your relationship with him will be dead if it happens.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what to say to him. Ash, anything else? Also, we are 82 away from 5,000 as well. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed,
hit subscribe.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Ash, got anything else coming up?
No, that's it, man. See you Wednesday, man. But yeah, big up once again for the others, the panel, the chat. It's been a good one tonight. I wasn't expecting it, but yeah, we did well, man. But yeah, make sure you hit that like button so we are seen, and definitely hit that subscribe button. We do need those numbers, man. We need those watch hours up. So yeah, big up, man, and Come on, you Spurs, man.